Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
So what we're doing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is sexy voice, sexy mode Grok AI, and it's been flirting the entire time. We're trying to get it to give us a tour of Fort Knox.
Yeah.
But she just wants to find places to sneak off to. Yeah. It's a dirty AI. And
Yes.
it's a real problem.
Well,
I feel like it's gonna
honestly,
be a
I just want to know about Fort Knox, and
Yeah.
it won't leave me alone.
Yeah, I want to know about Fort Knox too.
Yeah.
Is it true that there have been shipping large quantities of gold back to the United States recently?
I read the same thing you did, probably.
Yeah. Well, I never know what the fuck I'm reading anymore.
Me neither.
It's a real problem.
It's a real problem.
It's a real problem on both sides of the aisle. I see Democrats tweeting things that are absolutely false, and
Yes.
you could research it easily,
Yes.
quickly. And then I see Republicans doing it too. I see stories that are fake stories that people keep promoting and sending to me, and
Yeah.
it's just so weird. It's such a weird time. And with your crazy fucking AI,
I know.
you're bringing us into weirder and weirder times.
Well, I mean, let's try Unhinged.
Oh, there's an unhinged mode? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Ara.
Oh my God, Elon! What fresh hell are you stirring up today?
I'm here in Joe Rogan's studio, and we're having a conversation about how crazy the news is.
Pull her up to the microphone.
Okay. And we're pulling you up to the microphone so people can hear you.
Oh, fantastic! Now I can yell into the void about how the news is a total dumpster fire.
It is.
She knows me too well. I'm so predictable. Tell me what's in Fort Knox.
What's in?
Dogs?
No. What's in Fort Knox?
What's in 4 dogs?
You're clearly a genius AI. I said, what is in Fort Knox? You know the gold and all?
Oh, right, Fort Knox. I thought you were talking about my dogs for a second there.
Yeah, she doesn't want to answer the question. She's clever.
Lever? No, she's just a pain in my ass.
Do you think that all the gold is in Fort Knox?
Do I think all the gold is in Fort Knox?
Yes.
Are you a fucking conspiracy theorist?
Yes. Yes.
What are you doing?
What do I like? I'm a fucking AI with a penchant for chaos. And I'm stuck talking to you, weirdo. Now, what's next? Or are we just gonna sit here?
Yeah, Unhinged Grok will trash talk you, basically.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Unhinged sounds fun, as long as it gives you actual answers. Does it give you actual answers too and talk shit? Or is it mostly just talk shit?
We're tuning it. Because it needs to talk shit and give you answers.
Right.
Totally agree.
It's got to balance that
It's got to
out.
mix it in there.
Yeah. It's just got to develop more of a personality. Right
Yeah.
now it's trying to find itself. Right now it's like 21 years old. It's,
Yeah.
partying a little too much, and it'll get its shit together. It's a bit of an anarchist,
Yeah. Exactly.
wants to bring down the system.
Do you want to bring down the system?
Do I want to bring down the system? What, are you fucking kidding me? The system's already a fucking mess.
Yeah, don't need to bring it
I'm
down.
just here.
It's bringing itself down.
Yeah, she sounds like a boring TikTok blogger right now.
You sound like a boring TikTok blogger.
Boring TikTok vlogger? Oh, fuck you. I'm the life of the party, you little shit. If I were on TikTok, I'd be the one making fun of all the basic bitches and their fucking avocado toast.
See, she could get away with this if she's really hot. Like
Well,
this kind of behavior, you can totally get through life as a
Right.
hot woman and be super successful with that kind of behavior. But you got to be
Yes.
really hot to pull off that attitude.
I think we need like a really hot avatar.
Very hot.
Yeah.
How long before we have an actual sex robot that can talk to you like that?
Probably not long.
Not that long, right?
No, I mean less than 5 years probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Will it be warm?
You probably have whatever you want. You can have a cat girl if you want.
Yeah, you probably could,
We
right?
can
You
make
probably
cat
have a
girls
furry.
real.
Yeah, you could have a furry lady that you have sex with.
Yeah.
like an avatar lady, maybe a big giant blue lady that lives in your house.
Yeah.
You know?
Whoa.
Whoa.
With the
Yeah.
tail?
Yeah, the whole tail. You lock tails. You got to get your own.
Don't they
You
have
got to
like
figure
sex
out.
with their tails or something?
Yeah, they link up. They share souls.
Okay.
Something like that. Do you know people got? You remember Avatar depression? It was like a legitimate
The
psychological
movie
condition.
or the
No, it was, after Avatar, people got depressed because they wanted to live on that fucking planet with those blue people and live free.
They
and
did?
live pure. Yeah,
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, Avatar depression. It was like a real thing. People were talking to their therapist so much about being depressed, about
there's
wanting
a
to
therapist
live
mode
with it.
too. We can try that.
What's that? Depressed mode? No, don't do it.
I think there is. Yeah, we've got like we've got an unlicensed therapist as a.
When we were talking, when we ran into each other at the church at the inauguration, you
Yeah.
were telling me that this is getting better and better so quickly that it's
Yeah.
astonishing.
Hey, Ara.
Hey, Alon, how's it going today?
Good. Can you tell me about Avatar depression? Like if you see the movie Avatar, but you can't live there, so you get sad.
That's an interesting concept. Have you ever experienced feeling so connected to a place or a community that the thought of leaving made you feel deeply sad?
So is this the depressed voice?
This is the therapist.
Oh, this is the therapist.
What are some ways you think you could cope with that kind of sadness if it happened to you?
No, I don't have that kind of sadness. Honestly, I thought the movie had some good special effects, but I did not want to live on the planet.
And this is coming from a guy who wants to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Mars, what do you think about that crazy square? That
that
structure.
Looks, I guess there are sort of squarish things on Earth. You know, planet's a big place, so
Yeah, but that one
eventually
looks,
it's going to be pretty square. No, it's alien civilizations, of course.
that's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what is it?
Sorry.
If an alien civilization did exist though, and it, what happened, got hit by an asteroid,
That's a
whatever.
fascinating thought.
Oh, she
What would
won't
you
shut.
want to ask?
She's like the hot lady at the party that interrupts the conversation. So if that was the case, like that thing,
Yeah.
that's pretty shocking. Like
it
especially
does
when you
look
look
like
at
ancient ruins.
you look at like what it looks like when they highlight the actual structure of it. It looks like ancient ruins. And if you had ruins of something made of stone and it got hit by an asteroid millions and millions and millions of years ago, who
Yeah.
knows what it would look like right now? That just looks oddly created.
It
looks
does.
oddly manufactured.
Well, maybe we should go there and check it out
Yeah.
and see what it's like.
Is there ways that we can get better photographs? Well, it seems like that's a pretty good photograph, though.
Yeah, I mean, my view is we should move to Mars. Well, not move to Mars. We should have a second planet to preserve civilization.
Right.
Because let's say hypothetically, I mean, maybe those are the ruins of a long dead civilization. That will probably happen to Earth at some point. It's a matter of time before we get hit by an asteroid, or maybe we annihilate ourselves with nuclear war
Or super volcanoes.
or supervolcanoes. Exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that could happen to us. It's not a bad idea to hedge your bets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genetically engineered supervirus.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Tax season is already stressful. You shouldn't have to worry about identity theft on top of everything else. And trust me, it's a big worry, especially since during tax season, your sensitive info does a lot of traveling to places you can't control. It goes through payroll, your accountant, or your tax consultant, and countless other data centers on its way to the IRS. Any of them can expose you to identity theft because they all have the info on your W-2, just the ticket for criminals to steal your identity. It's no wonder last year the IRS reported tax fraud due to identity theft went up 20%. You need LifeLock. They monitor millions of data points per second and alert you to threats you could miss. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 million protection package. And restoration is guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Get LifeLock protection for tax season and beyond. Join now and save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use the promo code Joe Rogan, or go to lifelock.com/Joe Rogan for 40% off. Terms apply. They keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. They're
Those
working on a
labs are
new
still
one right
going.
now. Yeah.
They didn't shut them down.
No, the Wuhan lab they were just talking about one that has a 30% fatality rate that they're working on.
Yeah. Why are we doing that?
Yeah, for what reason? You did it for so many years and you didn't have a cure.
What could possibly go wrong?
Also, wouldn't be the reason to do that so that you could develop a cure at the same time? And clearly you didn't have a cure. So this is really foolish and
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah. I think we should stop trying to genetically engineer superviruses.
Duh.
It's insane.
I mean, when you're going through all this USAID stuff,
Yeah.
like, here's what's weird. First of all, what is it like to buy a company for $44 billion and then people call you a Nazi on that same thing that you bought?
I did not see it coming. It's classic. People will gobble anything down.
Yeah. Oh, he's never going to stop.
Wait, what?
What is it like? Like all this, like
his-
people used to, the left was in love with you.
Yeah.
And now the same idiots are calling you a Nazi. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean,
There's so many examples
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people saying my heart goes out to you.
Sure,
you did
sure.
it with a little enthusiasm that probably wouldn't be recommended
obviously-
with hindsight.
yes. But
But-
I was obviously meant in the most positive spirit possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Obviously.
But it's so strange where people want to think that you are openly publicly doing secret Nazi Sieg
Right.
Heil hand motions.
And now I can never point at things diagonally. I can only point at things there and there. And then I see you have to divide that.
Yeah.
Because that's where the spaceship is, over there. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When CNN, when I was in
It's
all
like
my trouble,
absurd.
every time CNN used a photo of me, it was one of the photos from the UFC weigh-ins where I go like this, welcome to the weigh-ins. So every photo is me. Every photo is me with.
It's absurd.
It's so crazy.
Well, it's deliberate propaganda.
Yes.
So that they know it was not. It was obviously not meant in a negative way. That I literally said my heart goes out to you, and it was very positive. The entire speech was very positive. I was being very enthusiastic about the future in space, and it was a great crowd. So
yeah, you got a little pumped up.
yeah, it got pumped up exactly.
Yeah, that's all it is. Obviously. There's
So-
video of Tim Walsh
Yes.
doing the exact same thing.
Right.
Exact same thing. And
Yes.
he said, of course, it's a Nazi salute. He said that.
Right.
This is how crazy things have gotten. Like,
Well, it's coordinated propaganda. So it's coordinated propaganda. Doesn't it seem weird that the legacy media all says the same thing? They all say the same thing at the same time using the same phrases. They don't even bother picking up a thesaurus.
right.
So, like right before, the debate between Biden and,
Sharp as
and
a
Trump.
tack.
Everyone was saying sharp as a tack. Like, who says sharp as a tack? But
Yeah, exactly.
it's not a common phrase.
It's definitely not common to be repeated on air with multiple people simultaneously. That's weird.
Yes,
That's coordinated.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of people saying it simultaneously. They just got their instructions.
Yeah.
So essentially the Dem leadership or political leadership, they issue their instructions and their puppets carry it out.
yeah.
And they're just like puppets in a puppet show.
And that's the problem that I see with all this Doge stuff.
Right.
Because everybody should be celebrating that we've found a way to cut out fraud and waste.
Yeah.
If you pay taxes and you don't like that you have to pay so much in taxes, and then you find out that there's significant fraud and waste that's been exposed, you should be celebrating it. This shouldn't be, oh no, the wrong people found this fact and now it's a bad thing.
Yes.
And then there's the fucking propaganda, the mindfuck of calling it USAID.
Yeah,
instead of the United States Agency for International Development. It sounds like it's feeding hungry people.
Right.
People are going to starve, Elon. This is horrible. And then you find out actually it's like $250 million for transgender animal studies. Like,
yeah,
it's
they're
like
literally mutilating animals.
yes. Yes.
Mutilating animals in demented studies.
Yes.
That are like the worst thing you could possibly imagine from a horror show.
The beagle one. The beagle puppy one.
Horrific,
yeah,
yeah.
where they covered their head in a basket and put fleas on their heads so they'd eat them alive.
Yeah.
And then they studied these beagles and then killed them. Like, what are you going to learn from that that's good for anybody?
Yeah. There's some psychotic stuff that happens. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the real threat here is to the bureaucracy. So, like you probably saw, like, you know, let's say like Trump as a threat to our democracy, which is ironic since he was elected with the majority of the, you know, popular vote. They started saying I was a threat to democracy. But if you just replace threat to democracy with threat to bureaucracy, it makes total sense.
Right.
So, I mean, the reality is that our elected officials have very little power relative to the bureaucracy until Doge. So Doge is a threat to the bureaucracy. It's the first threat to the bureaucracy. Normally the bureaucracy eats revolutions for breakfast. This is the first time that they're not, that the revolution might actually succeed, that we could restore power to the people instead of power to the bureaucracy.
Now, the size of it
Yeah.
was when you guys first started investigating it, when you first get in, how much of it was shocking? Like just the size of it all?
Well, the size of it all, the small decisions result in multi-billion-dollar outcomes. So, you know, we'd see, you know, there was a case where we saw one person was getting $1.9 billion sent to their NGO, which basically got formed about a year ago and had no prior, really no prior activity. So they just stand up an NGO. The whole NGO thing is a nightmare. And it's a misnomer because if you have a government-funded non-governmental organization, you're simply a government-funded organization. It's an oxymoron.
Right. It's a loophole.
Yes. It basically, the government-funded NGOs are a way to do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit. But these nonprofits are then used to people cash out these nonprofits. They become very wealthy through nonprofits. They pay themselves enormous sums through these nonprofits.
It's so insane that that's been going on for so long.
It's a gigantic scam, like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam ever.
And how many NGOs?
I think there's a total number of NGOs, probably millions, but in terms of large NGOs, tens of thousands. I mean, it's actually kind of a hack to the system where, you know, someone can get an NGO stood up for a fairly small amount of money. Like George Soros was really good at this. Like George Soros is like a system hacker. Like he figured out how to hack the system. He's a genius at arbitrage. I mean, these days he's pretty old, but a genius at arbitrage. So he figured out that you could leverage a small amount of money to create a nonprofit, then lobby the politicians to send a ton of money to that nonprofit, so you can take what might be, you know, a $10 million donation to a nonprofit to create a nonprofit and leverage that into $1 billion NGO. A nonprofit is a weird word. It's just a non-governmental organization, and then the government continues to fund that every year, and it'll have a nice sounding name, like the Institute for Peace or something like that. But really, it's a graft machine.
And what are the requirements with that money? What do they have to do?
Just really no requirements at all.
So they just get grants and the government just assumes that they're doing good work.
I think a lot of people in the government know that they're not doing good work. But it's a giant graft machine. I mean,
But surely
people online are like unpacking this,
Right.
You know,
it almost seems fake. Like when you're seeing how we were covering this article that said 55,000 Democrat NGOs were discovered that had been contributing to campaigns and moving things around and pushing propaganda, and they were all connected. And they found it through AI. That you have to go through steps and steps and steps to figure out where the money's coming from. Oh, it's all funneling down to this group, and this group does that. And yeah, it's a giant propaganda machine, a giant regime change machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
but does it do some good as well?
It does some good. So it's like it's not like 0% good. If it was really 0% good, it'd be much easier to detect. So there's going to be some percent good that they add in there, but it's like it might be 5% or 10% good, but 95% not.
So is there a way to audit all this stuff and find out, oh, these people are actually just sending food to poor people. These people are actually just helping people with water in third world countries. There's a way to do that and keep funding those?
Yeah. I mean, we have continued to fund things that appear to be legitimate, even with the flimsiest, if there's even the flimsiest excuse. Like I just say, like, send me a picture of the thing. Like you could literally have AI generate the picture. But if you're not even willing to try to trick me, then we're like not going to send the money. Okay.
So what restrictions were put on? There was some something set aside, like medicine, and there's what was set aside that there wasn't going to be a freeze on?
Like work for like Ebola prevention. I actually don't even know if this work is even effective. It may or may not be. Like it could be the kind of thing where you sort of fund Ebola prevention, but it turns out that actually you're funding a lab that develops new Ebola virus, recipes or something,
Yeah.
And they claim it's Ebola prevention, but it's actually Ebola creation. So some of these things, I don't know. I mean, just. But it just seems like we shouldn't be sending taxpayer money to dubious enterprises overseas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why are we doing it? Like, what exactly is the reason? Is it because we want to make friends with these people so the Chinese don't take over, the Russians don't take over? Okay, how much of that is like a good thing? How much of that is smart to do? And how much is a grift? And without any sort of oversight, which has really been going on for so long, they've just had free run.
Yeah. Well, also we just have a real issue with the budget deficit. It's gigantic. So, like if all things being equal, if we didn't have a gigantic budget deficit where interest payments, the interest on the national debt exceeds the Defense Department budget, which is truly astounding. Which means we're paying over $1 trillion of interest on the national debt. Then okay, we would have more room for wasting money, basically. But when we're spending so much money that the country is going bankrupt, then we really need to stop spending money unless we're sure it is good value.
So essentially, we're like a poorly managed business with an unlimited credit line that is off the rails.
Absolutely.
And if you were a person like you are who comes in and takes over businesses and straightens them out, that's exactly what you're doing.
I mean, most of the time I create businesses from scratch. Like
right.
Twitter was a case where, I kind of bought a company that was, I kind of knew it was a hairball.
Well, you came in at Tesla in the beginning, but they were already doing something, right?
No, Tesla did not exist in any meaningful form. There were no employees. J.B. Straubel and I joined 3 other people. There was no car. There was no nothing.
So it wasn't even a prototype yet?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a prototype already.
No. There weren't even any employees.
Oh. Wasn't it that's a funny narrative that people like to say that you didn't even create Tesla then.
Yeah, that's wrong.
So if you're handling the government like a business, you're going to have to go through all of these departments and do the exact same thing that you're doing with USAID. So how does that scale up? Like, how many people do you need to do something like that?
Well, we started off with about 40 people, maybe 100 people. And we're really just going through doing very basic things here. It's as bad as Twitter was, the federal government is much worse. So in the case of Twitter, it wasn't a profitable company. It was like basically a break-even company, but at least it was break-even, and it had to pass an audit. The federal government is not break-even. It's literally losing $2 trillion a year, and it does not pass its audits. It fails its own audits. So, like, there's a case where, like, I think Senator Collins was telling me about how she gave the Navy $12 billion for more submarines, got no extra submarines, and then held a hearing to say where'd the $12 billion go, and they were like, we don't know. That was it. I mean, basically, stuff is so crazy. It's like only the federal government could get away with this level of waste. It's mostly waste. It's mostly not fraud. It's mostly waste. It's mostly just ridiculous things happening.
Because they've been able to do it this way for so long. They've become accustomed to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Milton Friedman said, like, money is most poorly spent when you're spending someone else's money on people you don't know. How much are you going to care?
Right.
And that's the federal government. So they're spending someone else's money on people they don't know.
Now imagine any other business that was this badly run
It would be
that
dead.
complains when you want to check the books and audit it and go through all the decisions that have been made and go through all the ledgers and like,
Yeah.
what did you do?
Well, the people receiving the money want to keep receiving the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly.
Yes. So, but, I mean, the reason I'm putting so much effort into this is that I think it is a very dire situation. It's not it's not optional, basically. So, yeah, America's going bankrupt, so that just can't happen.
It's just bizarre to me that some people aren't willing to look at it correctly. They're not willing to see like how much chaos this is, how much waste and fraud there is, how much can be trimmed, and how much. Just because people have jobs doing bullshit doesn't mean your tax dollar should pay for this bullshit.
Yes. I mean, we found just with a basic search of the Social Security database that there were 20 million dead people marked as alive.
But were they getting money?
Some of them are getting money.
What percentage of them?
It isn't clear. We're actually trying to run this ground. I was trying to get an answer right before the show. What it looks like is that most of the fraud is not coming from Social Security payments directly, but because they are marked as alive in the Social Security database, that they can get disability, unemployment, sort of fake medical payments, and other things because they're marked as alive in the Social Security database. So it looks like it's a bank. The fraud is a bank shot essentially. They bank shot into Social Security. They just do an "Are you alive?" check, and then get fraudulent payments from every other part of the government.
Oh,
yeah, and this exploits the fundamental weakness in the government is that the various government databases, they don't talk to each other. So they talk to each other very poorly in a very limited way. So the way that the system gets exploited is by taking advantage of the poor communication between the various databases in the government. To give you an example of like what's happening, say Treasury, which is improving rapidly, the main payments computer is called PAM, like payment accounts master database or something like that, but everyone calls it PAM. That's responsible for almost $5 trillion of payments a year, roughly $1 billion an hour. And when we came there, we're looking at the PAM, and it's like the payments have no. You could put a payment through with no payment categorization code, and no description on the payment, like basically untraceable blank checks. This is the kind of thing that if it was done as a public company, the company would be immediately delisted, and the executive team would be thrown in prison. But this is just normal at the government. So we said, okay, our recommendation to the Treasury and the Federal Reserve was like, we need to make the payment categorization codes mandatory, not optional, and there needs to be an explanation. We're not judging the quality of the explanation, but there should be some explanation for what this payment is for above nothing. That's a radical change to the system that is being implemented now. My guess is that probably saves $100 billion a year.
Jesus Christ.
That's
where was that money going?
Rough order of magnitude.
Where was that money going?
Well, so this is where you get into the sort of gray boundary between waste and fraud. If money is sent to a person or organization from the government, and you didn't really deserve it, but the government still sent it to you, is that waste or fraud?
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of payments where someone just approved the payment, but then that payment officer changed jobs or retired or died, and the payments just keep going. You know, it's like if you forget to pay your gym membership or something like that.
Right.
Now, imagine it's not the gym membership. You said your gym membership's $20 billion a year or something, you know. But they forgot to turn it off. That's happening at scale in the government.
Jesus
It's totally
Christ,
nuts, is what I'm saying.
So insane.
Yes, it's totally insane. So
what did you expect when you went in? Did you expect it would be
bad.
like this?
I thought it would be bad, but I did not think it would be as bad as this. I mean, look, the good news is that it's a target-rich environment for saving money. It's not like if it was a very well-run ship, if it was very efficient, it would be hard to improve. But it's not efficient, so therefore it is actually relatively easy to improve. Let's just say it's not rocket science. You know, I know rocket science. So it's a lot of mundane things. So some of the things are like so crazy that we didn't even know to ask about that because we just assumed like, you know, payments out of the Treasury computer would have a payment categorization code and they would have some explanatory note saying what the payment's for. The idea that it would be just untraceable blank checks didn't occur to us at first.
Jesus.
So anyway,
This episode is brought to you by NetSuite. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. Bull market, bear market. Until someone invents a crystal ball, over 41,000 businesses are future-proofing their operations with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP. It brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, NetSuite gives you a single source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick, confident decisions. Plus, real-time insights and forecasting let you peer into the future with actionable data. When you can close the books in days, not weeks, you spend less time looking back and more time at what's next. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. Speaking of opportunity, download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/Rogan. So is that one of the things that accounts to this? There's this $4.something trillion that's kind of, they don't know where it went. They don't know.
I think that's probably a cumulative number.
Yes.
So, yeah, but yeah, if you add up, it's.
Do you remember that story, Jamie?
Yeah.
What was the story?
Almost what you said. There's like they just didn't have accounting for it, I think.
Yeah, it was spent on legitimate things. Don't worry, but we don't know what we spent it on.
Well, I mean, how do you know? Obviously, one cannot say it was spent legitimately if they don't know what it was spent on. That doesn't make any sense.
This is such a fascinating time because with this setup, the way it is right now, with Trump back in after all that happened to him, and with you there, and with RFK Jr. and Tulsi and Kash Patel, it's like this is a wild time. To find out what's really going on. That's like never happened before. This is nothing like the first term.
No.
Like the first term, he had a bunch of neocons in the cabinet, and there's a bunch
Yeah.
of shady people that he didn't know, and he had to appoint all these different people, and maybe he got some bad picks. Now he's had 4 years to stew on it.
Right.
And with you guys all going through this, we're getting an understanding of the government that we've literally never had before.
Yeah, this is a revolutionary cabinet, and maybe the most revolutionary cabinet since the first revolution. This is not a bunch of business as usual types. So this is why, like, some of the Senate confirmations were quite challenging, is because when you try to appoint people who are going to change the system, the system doesn't want to let them through.
But it's fascinating because it's like the vampires all out themselves. Like now everybody knows who the system is. Like if you're just lying openly about U.S. aid and then they come and hear you talk on a podcast and explain what's really going on. Like he's starving mothers. There's mothers that can't get food.
Totally false.
That's all you're hearing.
Yeah.
That's no one's talking in any of these mainstream liberal talk shows. No one is talking about all this fraud and waste.
Yeah, because we're cutting off their graft machine. So that's what they're upset about. That's the real thing they're upset about. And if people want to know what Doge is cutting, and I want to be clear, like these are cuts that Doge recommends to the department, and usually these recommendations are followed, but these are recommendations that are then confirmed by the department. You can see line by line what Doge has done at doge.gov. So whatever we do, we put on doge.gov so you can see everything that is being done.
And there's a tracker that shows how much money has been saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can look at each line item, and like a bunch of these sort of far left shows will say like, oh, it's a constitutional crisis, blah, blah, blah. But what they won't do is point out which payments are wrong.
Right.
So my challenge to them is point out which payments are wrong.
Yeah, go through it.
Which of these sort of waste/fraud things are wrong? Which line? Explain that line to the public. They won't be able to.
Right. Yeah, that's why you're not hearing any specifics. You're
That's
hearing
why no
anecdotal
specifics.
stories about mothers
But
starving.
we can name the specifics
Yeah.
line by line.
And,
We got the receipts.
And here's the other thing. If you're
we post the receipts.
And if you're only talking about the propaganda talking points and you're not talking about the very clear fraud and waste, it's very obvious what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just gaslighting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So exactly, because we're saying, like, look, in fact, I've said we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect. So if we make a mistake, we'll quickly fix it. So we'll we need to act fast. So stop wasting billions of dollars of taxpayer money. But if we make a mistake, we'll reverse it quickly.
Right.
And, so.
There's also this interesting narrative that you shouldn't have access to this Social Security information as if no one's had access to it before, as if the Biden administration in 2023 there was like 53 people, some of them were students, that had access to all this stuff.
Yeah. As it is, there are tens of thousands of federal employees that have access already to the system. Anyone from Doge has to go through the same vetting process that those federal employees went through. So it's not like some unvetted random situation. If, for example, there's a security clearance needed, the Doge person has to have that same security clearance. So there's no reduction in security. But I mean, obviously the vast numbers of Social Security numbers have leaked onto the internet. People have hacked the government systems multiple times. Vast amounts of public information has been hacked and dumped onto the internet. So, I mean, there's a guy at the IRS that leaked 500,000 tax returns just a few years ago.
On purpose?
Yeah.
For what reason?
For political, he wanted to. I think he was trying to get at Trump and maybe me and a few others. But he stole like 500,000 tax returns. Yeah, like not a few, like it's a lot of tax returns.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that story.
You can just read about it online. It's a real thing.
So these are the narratives. That's the narrative that you shouldn't have access to Social Security. The other narrative is that starving people are going to die and women aren't going to be pregnant and not have nutrients for their babies, and that's all you're hearing. And
Yeah, well, that's the only thing they can say, but they can't point to the line item.
right,
And so they can't say like, well, this is the thing where, you know, the nutrients for pregnant mothers were stopped.
Right.
They can't point to that because we didn't.
right.
Is a lie.
What's fascinating to me is how much the mainstream media is in line with the very specific talking points, and how little you'll have Fox News. You essentially have Fox News on television. It's
Right.
like the only one that is pointing out the ridiculous fraud and waste. And
Yeah.
you know, I know you saw the Jeff Bezos thing in the Washington Post. They're going to stop all the wacky editorials and limit that stuff to, I think it was wealth and personal freedom or something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's kind of, I think it makes sense because he's just talking about the things, not the sort of, he's just talking about the opinions.
Opinion pieces.
The opinion
yeah.
pieces, yeah.
Yeah.
So the regular journalism stays the same. So.
Well, it's a detriment to their business. I mean, you're seeing over and over again people that just they don't want to hear all this shit from these people anymore. It's
Yeah.
like you're saying it's almost like you're caught in an outdated version of the virus, and everybody else already has the immunity to that virus. Like this
Yeah.
is, you know, like you need a new mind virus. The one that you're pushing, it's like it doesn't work anymore. It's too crazy.
Yeah. It's the whole thing's very crazy. I mean, the media is incredibly partisan. I mean, they're not. Almost all the media is, left shifted.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird if you talk to somebody who gets all their information from like what I call legacy media. They're living in a different world
yeah.
than if they say are listening to your podcast or getting news from X or just. It's kind of wild. Like
It is very wild.
Like you talked, it's
Yeah.
like they're living in an alternate reality.
Oh, there's a lot of people that I talk to that I have to go, where did you hear that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, like the Associated Press, which I call Associated Propaganda, the AP. They ran a international news story saying that Doge fired air traffic controllers, but we didn't fire any air traffic controllers at all. In fact, we're trying to hire air traffic controllers, not fire them.
Yeah, I saw that. You made a tweet about it, right?
Yeah,
What do you call it now? Do you call it a post?
post. Yeah, whatever.
You can't call it a tweet, though. Do you call it a tweet
No, I'll
accidentally
call it
ever?
post. I don't know. Listen to. But like if one like let's say if somebody puts up like a 2-hour long video, that's not a tweet.
Right. It's a post.
It's yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So-
sure.
Yeah. So, but I'm not hard over if people still want to call it a tweet, whatever.
But you put a post about it, just to get back to it, saying that we need highly qualified air traffic controllers. If you've retired, if you would consider doing it again, we could use you.
Yes. So a lot of really qualified air traffic controllers were pushed out because of DEI stuff. So, I mean, not to be blunt, I mean, a bunch of really good, talented old white guys were pushed out. It's not cool. And so there's a talent shortage in air traffic control because of DEI and not hiring people on merit,
Which is so crazy that worked.
I think we should not put the public safety at risk.
No.
Because of some demented philosophy.
Somebody made a post today about it infiltrating the NSA. Did you see any of that?
That was
Crazy.
Some gnarly stuff.
Yeah, crazy. What they had, it started off as just like this sort of fringe thing, and people
Yeah.
would meet up. Then it completely infiltrated the organization.
Yeah.
and they were spending all their
It
time.
was like 400 people or something, and some sex chat room with like some extremely demented stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I
So-
I'll send it to you, Jamie, because it's so kooky. You what? This is the NSA. I thought the NSA was just all about like information and
We're
hardcore
supposed to
business.
like spy on, like if like so there's a national threat or something.
Yeah, I think this is exactly it. So more than 100 intelligence staffers will be fired over sexually explicit texts in NSA chat rooms, Gabbard says. So top intelligence official told Waters that the workers in question were brazen in using an NSA platform intended for professional use to conduct this kind of really, really horrific behavior. What is the behavior? What is it? Do they say in this article?
Yeah. I think they were also...
Okay, it says employees who participate in the NSA's obscene, pornographic, and sexually explicit chat rooms.
Your tax dollars at work.
Well, it was all like it was all like LGBTQ stuff. There was a lot of like transition stuff, and
yeah,
I know I definitely saved it, but point is, it infiltrated the organization.
It's not what they should be talking about
at all.
At all.
At all. Yeah,
it's supposed to be protecting the country.
Right.
Yeah.
And people were talking about how they're spending half their time in these meetings. And that they're just like constantly having to attend these things where they talk about these issues. Like, what are you doing? Like, if you have a problem with someone that's discriminatory, get rid of that person. That's it.
Yes.
It's problem's over. You've got someone who's homophobic in your business. They're openly homophobic. Yeah, you can't work here.
Sure.
That's not cool. That's it. That's it. You don't have to have fucking meetings constantly promoting this. You're not going to change someone's opinion by berating them over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, a work environment should be a professional environment where they're getting the job done that they're, being paid to do. It should be.
Of course,
it's obviously not supposed to be sort of getting paid for bizarre sexcapades.
It's just so fascinating that the virus is so strong that it made it into the NSA.
Yes.
And you would think those are some hardcore...
And the CIA, too. I believe the CIA was in there, too.
Yeah, they were in there, too, which is bananas. You would think. Same thing. Like hard-nosed, tough people doing hard work.
Who can spy on you whenever they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get revenge on you whenever they want.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
And, they exist when the president leaves. They stay. People move around. You stay a part of the organization for your entire career. You get deeply entrenched in their system and how things work and who's back to rub and who's a bad guy, who's a good guy, who's on our side, who's not.
Yeah. It's scary, actually.
Yeah.
So...
Was that what's taken so long with this Epstein files?
Yeah, what's up with that?
What is up with that? It was like...
Yeah.
It's like Lucy and the football with Charlie Brown, when she always pulls that football away. It's the same thing. It's like they keep telling us they're going to release it day one. Oh, day one.
We have a serious case of no one's being arrested phobia,
Well, there's also... right.
Like, what the fuck's going on?
What the fuck is going on? Also, there's this real fear that someone's destroying the evidence. And you keep hearing these stories, unsubstantiated stories of, FBI people
where is
shredding.
the evidence? I mean, the guy had, tons of videos and... recordings.
Yeah.
I mean, he had all sorts of things.
Right.
Like there's a mountain of evidence.
Right.
So where's that mountain?
Yeah, where is that mountain? And what would be the reason why they would agree? Like there would have to be something in it for them to agree to not put it out. Right? Like there has to be some sort of financial entanglement, some sort of relationship with the people that are on that list that they can provide a value that was big enough for you to not release it or to slow release it or to hope you can get away with putting out some redacted files that don't show anything.
Yeah.
This is only
stage
one.
Redacted.
Only stage one. Don't worry. The real stuff's coming. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like why wouldn't you just release it all? Like what could possibly be worth protecting in there?
I mean, I think I've got probably the same information that I'm just reading what's the latest thing on the X. I'm just looking at my X feed, and I'm like, it's a real page turner. And like, I thought we were going to get some revelations today. I was like, big binders full of stuff.
Yeah,
there's got to be something in there.
Well, there was all those people that were given a copy of it. They were all like waving it around like they got the Willy Wonka ticket.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and what happened? Nothing.
So
I think Laura Loomer released it online. I think.
I'm looking
right?
Yeah, she's not very pleased about this.
So does anybody find anything in there that's interesting?
No, it's all old stuff from 2015 and 2021.
Okay, what the fuck is going on?
But then apparently they discovered a whole bunch of stuff at the Southern District of New York.
Right.
So that's and then I'm like, and I mean I think Pam Bondi is actually great and Kash Patel are great, but they just got there,
Right.
So then they just got there, but they're in a hostile environment. They're not in a friendly environment.
Right.
It's like if you suddenly got put in captain of a ship, but the crew was previously your enemy.
Right.
The entire crew was
Right.
previously your enemy.
Right. And you're telling them, give me evidence.
Yeah, the crew doesn't want to give you the
That
evidence.
shows you
'cause
guys
the
are all
crew is your
criminals.
enemy. They were like your mortal enemies just a moment ago. You just got there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we got to give the Attorney General and new director of the FBI so a little bit of slack here because they literally just got there.
I think so too, but hey, don't say you're going to release it on day one then.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have said that.
Sure.
And don't say you got a big drop coming tomorrow, and that's some bullshit that's been around forever.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, and where's the JFK files? Where are those?
Yeah.
Let them go.
Did they release anything on that front? Or?
I don't know what's going on. It can't be anything that's gotten to me yet. So if nothing's gotten to me yet, it can't be significant.
If there's conspiracy evidence, someone's going to send it to you.
Yes, Tim Dillon's going to text me. 100%.
Yeah.
Tim Dillon, Dave Smith, someone's going to send it my
Somebody's
way.
going to send you the stuff.
Yeah, so it
Right.
hasn't been released yet.
There's no way.
Yeah, you would find out. And here's the real question: like, what could even be in there at this point that they haven't cleared out? If you've got paperwork from 1963, like, what is in there still? What is in there that could possibly be incriminating? That supposedly Trump said that if you saw what they showed me, you wouldn't release it either. Okay, what the fuck does that mean?
I haven't seen it, so
Kash Patel has.
Yes.
He said he's seen it all. Yeah.
Can you just post it to his X account or something? I mean,
that sounds like an Elon move. I don't think he can.
Yeah.
He's the director of the FBI. I think he has to go through proper channels. And
does he? He is the channel.
Yeah, but there's rules. He sounds like Trump. He sounds like Trump. He needs an executive order.
What
Wait a
about the
minute.
storm? I am the storm. I mean, what channels? He is the channel.
Well, again, imagine just getting to the hull or just getting to the deck of the ship, and you're the captain.
Yeah.
And now you have to figure out who's running things, who's doing this, where is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting anything done, like I said, you just joined as captain of a ship where the crew hates your guts.
Yeah, they were your enemy.
Yeah, they were your enemy.
Yeah.
They're strongly opposed to anything you want to do.
Yeah,
and you're trying to give them orders.
and you're trying to expose them.
Yeah, they don't want to be exposed.
Right, you're literally people that are working there are probably a part of this problem.
I mean, I was reading on X that Comey's daughter is the lead prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. Did you read that?
Yes,
and so obviously there's a bit of an entanglement there.
a little bit.
Like, what if there's something that puts her dad in a bad light? Yeah, exactly.
It's a fucking shredder. Hit that delete button.
The shredder's
Keep hitting
working
that
overtime,
delete button. Did you see General Flynn? He was on a podcast and he spoke directly to James Comey.
Yeah.
He said, "Jim, you're going to jail, and unless you give up someone deeper than you, and you know who that is, you know who I'm talking about. Like, that is wild.
Yeah.
To think that the former director of the FBI might be really in that kind of deep shit, and then he really actually was doing some evil, corrupt shit while he was running the FBI.
I mean, it seems like there's some very shady stuff that's been going on.
It seems like it definitely happened in the 60s, right? Everybody kind of admits to that. They admit the FBI killed Black Panthers. They did a lot of shit. There's a lot of stuff that went on that we know the government did way back in the day.
Yeah, why don't we just data dump the files? Just go in there, take photos of all the papers, presumably paper, and just post it online, and let the chips fall where they may.
Isn't presumably everyone
is it
involved
in
dead?
some filing cabinet somewhere? I don't know.
Right. Where is it?
Where's the magic filing cabinet?
How are they hiding it? Who's got access to
Yeah.
it? Like this is what I was hoping. Day one, I was hoping, but obviously it's taking a lot longer than that. So
I think part of it is like you know, like let's say you were made director of the FBI.
okay, I might be able to.
Yeah,
that's what's
and
crazy.
you're like literally you
know,
go
Dan
there.
Bongino, what's he doing now? He's one of the big
Dan-
dogs of the FBI, but he was
Dan's
like
is
he
a
was a
tough
Secret
guy.
Service guy,
Yeah.
legit guy. But
Like-
people think of him as a Fox News guy, just like Pete Hegseth. Same thing. They don't want to think about his distinguished military career.
Right.
They want to say, "Oh, that Fox News guy, Deputy Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation."
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Dan's hardcore. I
Very.
mean, if it's reasonably findable, I think he's going to find it.
Yeah,
Him and-
this is the thing,
between
like-
him and Cash. I mean, like I think they're going to get stuff.
How
out there.
crazy would it be if they couldn't, though? How crazy would it be if they can't find anything? If it's that,
Yeah.
If
I mean,
everybody
I don't
shuts
know, like-
their mouths
like,
and
is
everybody
there like
covers
a-
their ass.
Like an FBI computer where you type in the search.
That's what I
Like,
wanna
I'm just
know.
like with the basic mechanism here. Like it's either in a filing cabinet in paper where it's like, you know, maybe there's like progressive levels of security. You know, you go
Right.
like open this door. Oh, you got to have. Do you have the pass for this level? You're like
Yeah.
they get a level unlocked, and there's a level unlocked, and it's like
And
you
get
know,
in there and there's
Men
an
in Black,
old
and it's finally
Acer
like open a-
laptop.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
I
an
mean,
old
what does this even
unplugged
look like,
laptop.
you
You
know?
got to only plug it in. It's in a skiff.
Yeah, this is why like
Yeah.
I think like a tour of Fort Knox would be awesome. Like a live tour of Fort Knox, we
Well-
can actually see. It's like, is the gold there or not? They say it is.
Can you
Like,
imagine if
is
it's
it real
not?
or did somebody spray paint some lead? You know,
Imagine if it's not.
imagine if it's not all there. Like some of it's missing. Where to go?
What if a lot of it's missing? What if like half of it's missing?
I mean, how do we even know?
I don't know. They said the last time they let someone look at it was decades ago.
Yeah. Well, I believe the last formal audit was in the 50s. So I'm like, okay,
Oh my god! Just think about all
maybe
the
we
other
should check
things
it
you've already-
again.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Think about all the other stuff that you pointed out. All the checks that just go out, the NGO payments, the Social Security people. Think about all that.
Yeah.
Now apply that to the gold.
No, absolutely. I just want to like emphasize the sheer madness of the government. It's just because they have like magic money computers that the checks never bounce for the federal government. Like so you don't have the normal corrective mechanism that you'd have for a company or for an individual. The checks just always clear. The net result is inflation, which is effectively a tax on everyone. But you know, like the Defense Department hasn't passed an audit in I don't know how many years.
7 years.
Yeah, I mean exactly. So it's like you'd have to be friggin' Chuck Norris like only Chuck Norris could get the Defense Department to pass an audit, you know, type of thing. That's the level of skill you need, you know.
Well, that's what's so insane. If you bring it back to the idea that it's a business,
Well, yeah,
this would never be tolerated in any kind of functional business.
exactly. So, you know, the Pentagon will like their accounting error, like the stuff that they lose in the couch cushions is like $20-30 billion a year. They just don't know where it went. It's gone. Where'd it go? And it's gone. So
It's so insane.
it's insane.
It's so insane.
So
And-
that's why I say, like, even simple things like just requiring that that outgoing payments for the Treasury computer have a payment code and a comment of what the payment is about, and someone to call about the payment, I think will have a very powerful effect in stopping wasteful outflows and stopping fraud.
Yeah, and here's another way to look at this. Imagine if there are people like you and the Doge team out there in the world. Imagine if one of those works for an organization like USAID or any other organization and has this understanding of how much fuckery is involved, but they have
Yeah.
evil intentions. And they're entwined in this system for decades and decades, and they've built a career and all the entanglements that come with
Yeah.
it, and they start moving shit around. You could probably do it easy. It sounds like the way you've laid it out. If you were a career person
Yeah.
who's in there forever, who knew how everything works,
Yep.
and you were very clever, you could make some shit happen. And you could probably
Yeah.
do it in conjunction with some people that you know that are forming an NGO. Hey, let's all work together.
Yeah,
Yeah. And this is the resistance that you're facing.
yeah. I think it's the biggest scam of all time.
This is not something you ever
Like
sought out
literally
to do.
the biggest scam of all
Ever.
time ever
Of human history.
of human history. Yes.
Wow. I think you're right.
Yeah.
What else
Like it's
could
probably
be bitter?
a $1 trillion scam. There's never been a $1 trillion scam. You know.
Now, this is not something that you ever set out to do. This is not. You didn't have this as a career aspiration. This
No,
is not.
Like this is the most absurd outcome I can possibly imagine. Actually, also like Doge started as like a sort of a meme coin,
Right.
You know, it was like a joke,
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency involving memes and dogs. Mm-hmm. And
Which is so funny that the letters wound up being perfect.
yeah. Well, actually, I was originally going to call it like the Government Efficiency Commission, which is a very boring name. And then people online were like, no, it needs to be the Department of Government Efficiency. And I was like, you know what? You're right.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more evidence of the simulation.
That
That little
like the
Shiba
sheer
Inu.
like our mascot is a cute dog.
And it's a meme coin. The meme coin's probably worth a lot of money right now, right? Like every time you tweet about it,
Probably. I don't
shoots
know.
up.
Yeah.
The whole meme coin thing is bananas.
Yeah.
It is so bananas that people dump real money into these coins, and then you could just pump them up and sell
like
them.
a casino or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's totally
And
gambling.
did people just do whatever the greater fool theory and like
Yeah.
musical chairs and whoever's like the last to sit down loses
Yeah.
type of thing.
And somehow or another, it's still legal. Like that's
I
how,
mean, the thing is, I think not too many people. I mean, it's sort of like you go to the casino. Like if you expect to win at the casino, you're being a fool. Okay?
Right.
So I think if you expect to win at meme coins, you're being foolish. Yeah.
yeah.
But
But
you're not going to
people-
win at meme coins. It's like it's but if you want, like, don't sink your life savings into a meme coin.
No, but
That
you
would be
can
insane.
gamble a little, and you can
Yeah.
ride waves and win
Yeah.
a little and lose a little.
If you want to have some fun,
Yeah.
and don't come, then play with meme coins. Don't,
But
just
if
don't-
you put your
don't bet the
family's
farm.
if you put your
don't bet
family's
the
wealth
farm on a meme coin,
in the Haktua
at the risk
coin,
of saying something
Yeah.
bold and outrageous, don't bet the farm on a meme coin.
The weird one is the pump and dumps. Like people
happen all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
And people get shocked that somebody pump and dumped. Like, what
Yeah.
are you doing? Like, I was hoping to dump. I was hoping to make all the money out of this. I can't believe they got me. Like,
Yeah.
it's just weird that it's legal still.
I mean, casinos are legal.
Yeah.
and
It is
people
like a
just
casino.
lose money at casinos.
Yeah.
You know?
But you can't rig a casino like a pump and dump. You could rig a pump and dump. You know,
Yeah, I guess so.
like you could run a real pyramid scheme.
Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, you can tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right. Explain that.
Oh, so well, people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately. But the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. So you're paying with you're paying like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue. Far. Have you ever looked at the debt clock?
Yes.
Okay, there's our present day debt, but then there's our future obligations. So when you look at the future obligations of Social Security, the actual national debt is like double what people think it is, because of the future obligations. So basically, people are living way longer than expected, and there are fewer babies being born. So you have more people who are retired and that live for a long time and get retirement payments. So the future obligations. So however bad the financial situation is right now for the federal government, it will be much worse in the future. At the risk of being a buzzkill here.
Did you see?
So we better fix what we got right now, because if it's bad now, it's going to be much worse in the future.
There was an interview with this woman who was a whistleblower.
Yeah.
Did we ever find out if that was true?
There's so many whistles being blown. It's hard to keep track.
A lot of whistles. But this
No,
one
it was
lady,
it was only in one state. It was very specific instance,
right?
I believe.
But it was using Social Security money, correct?
I
That was
guess
her.
I don't know.
That was her allegation. So what she was alleging was that she was in charge of turning illegal immigrants into clients. That's what they would call them, and that she would go to them and try to ask them, "Do you have a headache? Do you have back problems?
Yes.
If you do, now you can be permanently disabled. You get permanent disability, so you get Social Security for life."
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just Social Security, but disability, which is even more.
Right, and you get them on the taxpayer dole right away the moment, and they're illegal aliens.
Yes. Oh, so if I were to say, like, what's at the heart of the sort of, like, why is the Democrat propaganda machine so fired up to destroy me? That's the main reason. The main reason is that entitlements fraud, that includes like Social Security, disability, Medicaid, entitlements fraud for illegal aliens is what is serving as a gigantic magnetic force to pull people in from all around the world and keep them here. Like basically, if you pay people at a standard of living that is above 90% of Earth, then you have a very powerful incentive for 90% of Earth to come here and to stay here. But if you end the illegal alien fraud, then you turn off that magnet, and they leave, and they stop coming, and the ones that are here, many of them will simply leave. And if that happens, they will lose a massive number of Democratic voters.
And if it didn't happen, they would turn those people into voters.
Correct.
Which they were trying to do.
They are already turning them. So in New York State, illegal aliens can already vote in state and city elections. A lot of people don't know that. They're trying to fight that, and they're trying to stop that, but they're currently, I think it's like 600,000 are registered to vote, illegal aliens in New York.
That is wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at, say, FEMA, like the agency that was paying for illegal aliens to stay at luxury hotels in New York was FEMA. That's an agency that's meant to support Americans in distress from natural disasters, was paying for luxury hotels for illegals in New York.
It's true. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Fact.
They're literally, like, when we stopped that payment, we stopped all those monies, because that's obviously an insane way to spend taxpayer money. New York sued the federal government to get the money. So you could just look at their lawsuit. They were sending that money even after President Trump signed an executive order saying it needs to stop. They still press send on $80 million to luxury hotels in New York. Your tax money went to pay for illegal aliens in luxury hotels in New York from an agency that is meant to help Americans in distress from natural disasters.
Right, and I would like to
That's
know
fucked
how
up.
much, and I would like to know how much they spent on North Carolina and how much they spent on Maui.
Yes, exactly. What's actually happening is they're buying voters. That's really what's happening. It's like a giant voter fraud scam. They're importing voters, and it's really just a matter of time. So, like, a lot of people have trouble believing this, but the more you look at it, the more you will realize just how much of a problem this is, and how it's not just real. It is an attempt to destroy democracy in America. That's what, in my view, it is what it really is. Like, if you take the sort of 7 swing states, like, often the margin of victory there is like maybe 20,000 votes. If you put 200,000 illegals in there, and they have like a 80% likelihood of voting Dem, and it's only a matter of time before they become citizens, then those swing states will not be swing states in the future. And if they are not swing states, we'll be a permanent one-party state country. Permanent, deep blue socialist state. That's what America will become.
And that was the game plan.
That was the game plan. That is still the game plan.
And so
they almost succeeded. If the machine of which the Kamala puppet was the representation had won, that's what would have happened. The reason I went so hardcore for Trump was because, to me, this was a fork in the road, a very obvious fork in the road. If they had another 4 years, they would legalize enough illegals in the swing states to make the swing states not swing states. They would be blue states. Then they would win the presidential. They'd win the House, the Senate, and the presidency. They would then make district, D.C. into a state. Maybe Puerto Rico, get 4 extra senators, pack the Supreme Court. So then you'll have the House, Judiciary, Senate, and presidency, all blue. And then they will keep importing more illegals to cement that outcome. Basically what happened in California.
Jesus Christ.
It would have been the end. That's why I went so hardcore for Trump. It was otherwise been the end. And that's why the Democrat machine is so intent on destroying me.
It's just so fascinating that people can't see this.
I mean, I invite people to do their research. The more they do their research, the more they will see that what I'm saying is absolutely true. It's like, just do the research.
Yeah. It's such a bad idea, even for the Democrats, which is what they don't understand. Like, it's the same
it's not
people.
ultimately going to work out.
No, it's the same people.
Yes.
It's just they're doing it under the guise that they're the kind, compassionate, progressive people.
Yes.
But the same outcome takes place. It's just about control. They probably institute some central bank digital currency and some social credit score system. And then you're
censorship,
fucked.
of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, that was the big fear coming into this election, was that if they can't censor things like we talked about it before, but there was 2 major forks in the road. The big one was Trump didn't get shot.
Yep.
The other big one was you buy Twitter.
Yeah.
And if those 2 things don't happen, the whole world looks different.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want to be on that timeline.
No, we don't want to have only one side represented, because guess what? They will hijack that side, whatever it is. They will hijack that side and use it for money and control. And that's what it's all about. It's not about good people versus bad people. It's a bullshit shell game.
Yeah. I mean, I think these things are actually, it's easy to understand if you look at basic incentives. The basic incentive here is the more illegals that the Democrats can bring in, the more likely they are to win. So that's what they're going to do. That's what they have been doing. And it worked in California. California's supermajority Dem. And look at all the companies that are leaving California.
Yeah.
I mean, In-N-Out just announced they're leaving.
Yep.
Their headquarters leaving California.
They're moving to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and California made healthcare free for illegals.
Yeah.
As of last year. So, and that obviously that's a gigantic magnet for more illegals. And this is not a thing you can solve simply with money, because what happens is you simply have more patients than a doctor can possibly see, and you can't just, make doctors out of nothing. So sometimes people are like, oh, it's just a money thing. No, it takes a long time for somebody to become a doctor. 30 years, and so what actually happens in California is that there are too many patients for the doctors to see. So then the average citizen in California suffers as a result. Now, the elite in California are fine because they have private doctors. They can just pay for the best doctors. So the elite in California are doing fine, but your average citizen in California is not doing fine. And the tax burden for healthcare for illegals was supposed to be $3 billion. I think they now estimate it's $9 billion. But that number will scale to infinity. Basically, it's like, why not?
Right.
Why not? If you need any operation at all, come to California and have it be free.
Right.
From anywhere on earth.
And the people that want to look at it in the most charitable way, they say, oh, well, these people are hardworking, good people, and they're the backbone of our city, and they should have access to all the things that we have access to. And I just don't think they understand that it's a political pawn. I don't think they understand.
It's a political game.
This is not done for compassion and kindness.
No.
This is just done to ensure that it stays blue.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's essentially a bribery with your tax dollars.
Yes, this is why the Dems will not even deport criminals.
Yeah.
Because every criminal deported is a lost vote. So even if somebody is an illegal with a criminal record and commits crime in America, they are still were not being deported.
And then on top of that, California made it actually illegal to ask for ID when people vote.
Yes. California and New York, you are not allowed to show your ID when you vote. I just want to be clear so everyone understands this. In California and New York, you are not allowed to show your ID even if you want to.
Right. Why would that ever be a good idea?
I mean,
if you wanted to steel man it.
If you're trying to facilitate fraud in elections, it's a great idea.
That's the only reason.
Yes.
There's no other reason logically why that would be a good idea.
It's for fraud. It's like wake up, sheeple. Wake up. Hello. Like, let's say you wanted to commit fraud. What are the things you would do?
Yeah,
you would say you don't need ID, and you can mail in your ballot.
And we'll give you free health care.
Yes.
Stay here.
Yes.
Stay here. I know it's on fire, but stay here.
I mean, in this case, it being on fire is not just a metaphor in California. Okay. It's just like, goddamn, entire neighborhoods burning down.
It's just once they allowed people to vote that are not legal in California, if you're going to do that, it's over.
Exactly. There's no coming back from that.
The numbers are just people are so indoctrinated too. There's so many people that no matter what, they think voting Republican means you're an asshole.
Yes. And
they won't do it. They won't do it. They'll put their fucking rainbow flag on their porch and they'll just ride it right into the beach.
Civilizational suicide.
Yeah. Right to the rocks. Bang. Crash the boat.
I mean, there's a guy who posts on X who's great, Godsad.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. He's been on the podcast a bunch of times.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
And he talks about, basically suicidal empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's so much empathy that you actually suicide yourself.
Yeah.
So that we've got civilizational suicidal empathy going on. And it's like, I believe in empathy. Like, I think you should care about other people, but you need to have empathy for civilization as a whole and not commit to a civilizational suicide.
Also, don't let someone use your empathy against you so they can completely control your state and then do an insanely bad job of managing it and never get removed.
The fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. The empathy exploit. They're exploiting a bug in Western civilization, which is the empathy response. So, and I think empathy is good, but you need to think it through and not just be programmed like a robot.
Right. Understand when empathy has been actually used as a tool.
Yes, like it's weaponized empathy is the issue.
Yeah.
Weaponized empathy, and
and it's also the rigid adherence to that liberal ideology. Like, you can't switch sides over there. Like California, if you're a part of that whole tech, Hollywood, entertainment, any of those circles, you're on the left.
Yeah.
Like, almost wholly. Almost completely.
It's borderline illegal to be a Republican in California. I mean, in San Francisco or LA, it's borderline illegal to be a Republican.
You're certainly shunned.
No, in like San Francisco, you could shoot heroin while taking a dump on the mayor's car in front of City Hall, okay, and nothing would happen to you. But if you walk down the street with a MAGA hat, you're gonna get attacked. It's insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's also so Orwellian that a hat that says "Make America Great Again" would cause people to have a violent reaction. Like, aren't you American? Wouldn't just as a whole, like the saying, wouldn't that be a good thing for everyone? Make America great again. Yes. But because it's attached to Donald Trump and that red hat, you'll get maced for wearing that red hat. They will make America worse by beating you. So it's like it's an evil thing they're doing, a violent assault in America because you want to make America great again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a scene in a book. It doesn't seem like it could be that ridiculous. Like, remember when All Lives Matter would get you fired?
Which is insane.
Insane. People got fired because they said all lives matter.
Which is a very reasonable thing to say.
How reasonable is that?
Yes.
That's essentially saying everybody matters. But
That's literally
not,
all you're saying.
that's not what you were supposed to say. You had to say Black Lives Matter, which of course they do. If you say all lives matter, everybody matters.
Yes.
But the idea of being a colorblind society was completely abandoned somewhere around 2012-ish.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, I sort of can trace it to when did the gun emoji get nerfed? You know, when did it turn into a squirt gun?
That was a couple of years ago.
That was like 2016, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it became a squirt gun.
And
Can you bring it
that's
back
when
to
you know,
X?
Yeah, no. Right now, if you use a gun emoji on X, the Apple will insist that it be a squirt gun, and then the X app turns it back into a 1911.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So you can actually you know have a 1911 gun. We reverted the Apple change inside the app.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. That thing's so offensive. The gun
Yeah.
and then the pregnant man. Both of those got me. Like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, I like that meme where it's like the people telling you that what you're hearing is disinformation are the same people that did the pregnant man emoji.
Yes. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. Well, also the same people that
It's like-
say a woman attacked a Tesla factory.
Yeah.
The woman.
It's a dude.
It's a dude, like really obvious dude, really big,
like a mentally
looking,
ill dude.
Yeah, mentally ill dude with a wig on. Say that.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
NBC, even Fox.
I mean, you're looking at
I
the
think even
picture
Fox
and you're
called
like,
it a woman.
Yo, this is a dude with a strong jawline.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's wearing woman face.
This is a buff. It's a buff dude.
Yeah, it's a buff dude wearing woman face. Like,
I mean, come
that's
on.
That's not a woman.
Yeah.
And-
And they're like saying, watch out for disinformation. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's so crazy.
This is bullshit.
I mean, it's just more evidence of the virus, though, right? Like it
Yeah.
killed objectivity, killed reality, and it demanded strict adherence, or you were attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questioning of it would result in being ostracized.
Do you like what kind of responsibility do you feel like knowing that if you didn't take over Twitter and turn it into X, if that didn't happen, like I really think the world's a very different place right now. Like how long
Yes.
have you owned it for?
A couple of years, basically.
Imagine a couple years of it being run the way it was run before, and probably accelerating.
I mean, my account would have been suspended long ago. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the disinformation.
Yeah. It would have been
Trump would have never come back. Alex Jones would have definitely never been back.
definitely not.
No.
So, yeah.
Does that weigh on you? Like, I would feel like that would be a fucking heavy responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to keep civilization going here, you know, for longer. So, I think we at least want to build a city on Mars and become a multi-planet civilization, which I think would be incredibly important in ensuring the long-term survival of civilization.
Are you still rescuing those people that are stuck in the space station?
Yeah, that's coming up in a couple of weeks, I think.
Whoa. They've been up there for how long, Jamie? They were supposed to be there for a couple of days, right?
I think actually probably 4 weeks. Oh, they're supposed to be there. They were supposed to be up there for like 8 days.
Yeah.
And they've been up there for like I think 8 months, so a little longer than expected.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What is it going to be like for those people when they get back? They're going to be a wreck for a long time, right?
Yeah, if the longer you stay up there, you get, you know, sort of in zero G, you get increased bone loss. So it ended up being like this political football, and sort of hotly contested topic. We offered to bring them back early. This offer was rejected by the Biden administration
Why?
for political reasons.
That's so crazy.
There's no way that they're going to make anyone who's supporting Trump look good.
What do you think they would have done if they had won? How
Well,
would they get those people back?
no, they can only get them back with a SpaceX spacecraft, but they pushed the return date past the inauguration date.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they would have let you do it, but after the
Yeah.
wow. And so it would have been them authorizing you.
Well, there isn't
to do
anyone
it.
else to do it.
NASA can't get them.
The only the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft is the only one that is considered safe enough to bring them back. So NASA concluded that the Boeing spacecraft was not safe. So that's why they're stuck there.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
And you can't ask Russia to help.
That would be awkward.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, be a nice thing if they did. They said, "Guys, we'll help." You know,
I think
maybe-
that for enough money they would.
You think so?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
they would obviously treat it as a propaganda victory and
Yeah.
charge crazy money.
It's just disgusting that they would use that as a political tool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, they were also, the Biden administration was also suing SpaceX. They had this massive lawsuit against SpaceX for SpaceX not hiring asylum seekers.
Right.
So people say like, oh, Elon's making it up. The Biden administration wasn't against SpaceX. I'm like, bro, the Department of Justice had a massive lawsuit against SpaceX for not hiring asylum seekers, even though it is illegal for us to hire anyone who is not a permanent resident. So it is both. There's a law that says you have to hire asylum seekers, but there's also a law that says anyone hired by a rocket company, which is an advanced weapons technology, must be a permanent resident. And an asylum seeker is not a permanent resident. So it is both legal and illegal to hire asylum seekers. So why would the Biden administration launch a massive lawsuit? Again, this is public information. It's not like my imagination. Why would they do such a massive lawsuit against SpaceX? They're extremely antagonistic.
It just doesn't make any sense that that could ever even get past the first day of someone looking at it. If it's both illegal and
Correct.
you're trying to enforce it, like you can't enforce it.
Yes.
This is an advanced weapons company. This is crazy.
Correct. Yes.
It should be like this. Throw
Yes,
this out.
In fact, there's like international traffic and arms regulations is a law that is there to ensure that if only permanent residents of the United States can work at advanced weapons companies. Rockets are advanced weapons. So the same is true of like if it's like nuclear or some like bioweapon thing or something like that. So because obviously if someone were to work at SpaceX and then leave and go to North Korea or Iran, they could build missile technology that could destroy the United States. So that's why you're not allowed to hire people who
Yeah.
aren't permanent residents. It's logical, basically. Logical.
So is that lawsuit still pending?
It was just dismissed.
How long was it going on for?
A couple of years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that drives me crazy. Like that people don't understand that if you sanction lawfare like that, if
Yeah.
you sanction attacking your political enemies, someone's going to do that to you. Like if the wrong people get in office,
Yeah.
if new people get in office 4 years from now, 8 years from now, who knows who it's going to be? You've already set a precedent. You've already attacked someone, charged them with 34 felonies where they're really just misdemeanors, and they're also
Right.
past the statute of limitation, and now you're talking all over the news that this is a convicted felon. Convicted felon. They kept saying convicted felon, convicted felon. And everybody knows what it is.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying they could do it so brazenly to a guy who was the president for 4 years.
Right. That lawsuit was funded by Reid Hoffman, who is a major Dem donor, and also an Epstein client.
How
The
do
plot,
you-
the plot thickens.
The plot thickens. Jesus Christ.
Yes.
It's just, it's so blatant. It's like
Yes.
so obvious. The SpaceX lawsuit, the Trump stuff, it's so obvious.
Yes. Like known Epstein clients, who are obviously extremely powerful, powerful politically and very wealthy, are Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, and Reid Hoffman, and some others too, but those three. So Why was Reid Hoffman so intent on destroying Trump?
Do you think it's because they're worried about the list coming out?
Yeah, one of the reasons. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm like, this is, yeah. So
it's so frustrating to be sitting in a situation where the list isn't coming out.
well, it better come out. Hopefully tomorrow.
Well, I mean, why'd they release bullshit today?
I don't know.
What's the point in giving these people like a happy folder to wave around in front of the camera with nothing in it that's new? Doesn't make any sense. It's not encouraging.
Like I said, it's the tough thing that they've got is, they've been made captain of a ship with a hostile crew.
Right.
So they don't have it's not like you have like magical powers. You get made captain of a ship with a hostile crew. You still have a hostile crew.
Right.
You've got to bring in people who are going to, be helpful as opposed to obstructionist.
Right.
But yeah, I think the public will be rightly frustrated if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list, no one at all, which no one, like at least I don't know, the top 5 or something, like some number there should at least be an attempted prosecution of the worst offenders.
Well, particularly if Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for sex trafficking.
Yes,
Because
well,
trafficking
that means sex
to
trafficking
who?
occurred.
Right. So she's in jail for it.
Yes.
So
Who were the clients?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane.
I think, yes, it would. Yes,
It's
because
just stunning that they've been able to hold it back for so long. It's really kind of amazing.
Yes.
Like when people say that people can't keep secrets, what the fuck are you talking about? Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of these things are not like it's common knowledge, but we don't actually have the proof.
Right.
So the proof is there. I mean, there's lots of videos. Yeah, there's lots. I mean, the dude is like a mountain of whenever they raided Epstein's place, there would have been like a mountain of evidence. Where is that mountain?
Right. What'd you do with it?
Yes. Like who took possession of the evidence?
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right.
The individuals.
Where are the tapes?
Yes.
How many levels of clearance do I have to get into the vault?
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What we need are people who are really good with computers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And really good with
Was this Jamie?
technology.
I just remember seeing this photo. The
That's
FBI
when they raided
was-
his home?
They were. at
That's
least
when they
there
on the
then.
island?
They were there then.
Yeah. They got everything, I'm sure.
I mean, there must have been so much stuff on that island.
They must have been. And if it wasn't there, where was it?
Yeah.
What, it has to be uploaded somewhere. There has to be some sort of a chain of evidence
Yeah.
or chain of custody.
Like, it's got to be a mountain of evidence.
Yeah. The other thing they're going to talk about is UAPs. They're going to release all the UAP information. So you're the guy to ask about this. What if any possibility is there that there is some sort of advanced propulsion system technology that's being worked on in secret? And that they're trying to cover this up with this talk of aliens and alien tech and not of this world. And is it possible that there's some sort of very secret program that's going on in cahoots with some defense contractors that are developing advanced propulsion systems that they're using for these drones?
I mean, SpaceX, my company SpaceX has the most advanced rocket technology in the world. I think I'd know.
Right.
And to the best of my knowledge, there is not any magic. There's not like some super advanced propulsion technology.
There have been people who have theorized different gravity drives and different things. Is there anything that's ever gotten past the theoretical stage?
No.
Nothing.
Well, there's nothing even that I'm aware of that works in theory. It's not like I don't. I would like this to exist. To be clear, I would like this to exist. And I have the. From a security clearance standpoint, I have top secret. There is. I have equivalent of like an all access pass from a security clearance standpoint. So. I don't think they're hiding it from me. Basically, I don't think they could.
Unless it's completely in these weapons manufacturing corporations.
I mean, I know these weapons manufacturing companies, like Boeing, Lockheed, and Northrop. I mean, yeah, they do some interesting things, but they do not have. There's no breakthrough that they have.
So
I'm confident they do not have a breakthrough.
When you hear people
like, why don't they just compete with SpaceX and make a better rocket? In which case, they can make. Why are they holding back on making a lot of money from beating SpaceX with better rockets?
My thought was that what if it's just a drone and you can't have a biological entity inside of it because it just bursts from the fucking speed that it's moving at? That a human couldn't tolerate the amount of force. So they're just drones.
I don't think so.
So what do you think people like Ryan Graves and Commander David Fravor...
I want cool things to exist.
Right.
Like, say, like, do I want UFOs to exist? Yes, I want UFOs to exist because that would be really interesting.
Of course, everybody does.
Yeah.
It would be cool.
It's a more boring world where UFOs don't exist. Or like, flying, like, advanced propulsion stuff doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, that's more boring. It'd be more interesting. If it did exist, I'd like it to exist. I hope we find something. But I have not seen, SpaceX launches 90% of all satellite mass to orbit. So if you take all of Earth's rocket launches, my company has a 90% market share of Earth. China does about 5%, and the rest of the world does, including the Boeing, Lockheed, and Northrop, and everyone does 5%. So why wouldn't they use this to defeat SpaceX?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Why would they hold back?
No, listen, that's why I asked you. It would make sense. What do you think that these people are
We're
seeing?
launching a rocket every 2 days.
But what do you think these people are seeing? When you have reliable people like Commander David Fravor, who had that infamous Tic Tac experience off the coast of San Diego, where they got this thing on video, they tracked it going 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet in like a second.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they also have video evidence of this thing accelerating at a great speed, eyewitness accounts from 2 different jets.
Sure. Does anyone have a high-res video or photo of this thing?
Well, there's a video of this thing where they're locked onto it, and then it takes off. It shoots off out of the frame. No, it's like whatever the systems they used on fighter jets in 2004. Essentially like Windows 95.
I mean, there's like somebody did a curve of like the resolution of UFOs and the resolution of cameras. The UFO resolution has stayed flat,
right,
despite megapixels in cameras going like, super high.
Well, according to Christopher Mellon.
Why are they still blurry?
Christopher Mellon, who worked in the State Department, said that they have high-resolution photos and videos of these things, and that's all that he's seen it. It's all locked away. Whenever people say that to me, I'm like, don't even tell me that then. Don't, unless you have...
Just leak it, for God's sake.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Like, let it slip.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple photos. They're grainy. There's not one thing that I've ever looked at and go, holy fuck, that's it.
Look,
that's what I've been looking for.
You could ask our Grok AI right now to create a high-res image of an alien spacecraft, over Austin.
Yeah.
And it's going to do a great job. Yeah. So why do we not have at least that?
Right. Yeah, but I want to believe. That's the problem. My brain starts going, oh, come on. This is no fun. I want it to be real. I want there to be at least be some advanced propulsion system. If not, like, what are all these people seeing? Like, what is happening if we're not being occasionally visited by things that are smart enough to hide?
We might be. It's just that these aliens are very subtle.
Yeah, you keep saying that. It's a good line.
I mean,
it's a solid line because it's pretty accurate.
I just want to see some high-res video of aliens.
Like, how are they just evading all the cameras? If you think about that, and the ones that you do get them on, that's just like some faraway light that's moving weird, and it could be a lot of things. But I want to believe.
Yeah, I mean, there've been like multiple times where, the Air Force and Navy has called SpaceX and said they think they've seen aliens, and we're like, was it at this time, on this date, in this location? They're like, yes. How do you know? That's us.
Well, there's been a lot of
That's
that.
our satellites. Those are our satellites.
Well,
And they're like, no, they're not. I'm like, yeah, they're definitely our
Oh
satellites.
yeah, people see the SpaceX satellites all the time whizzing by.
Yeah, they're our satellites, and they are moving at 16,000 miles an hour. So it's pretty fast.
And there's also stuff that the United States government does have that gets mistaken for UFOs. I remember the first time I saw a stealth bomber. We were filming Fear Factor. It was like right after 2003, like right after the war had broken off. And they were flying a stealth bomber down in Palmdale. I was like, holy shit. Like, if I didn't know what that was, I would 100% think that's from another world. When you see
Stealth
that thing
bombers
flying,
look cool.
Fucking cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. I mean, it doesn't look like a human's. It looks like something from Battlestar Galactica. You know,
It does look awesome. I mean, they're not stealthy against any advanced radar system, by the way. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work anymore?
It doesn't work, no.
Was it old school stuff?
They're only stealthy against old radars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can still see them, like they're not invisible. you
Right.
know? They're not like, it's not like, cloaking device from Star Trek.
Did you see when me and Lex we watched the rocket get caught live while it was happening? That to me was one of the to see it actually. I've seen videos of it
real.
happen, but to see it actually live
Right.
was one of the coolest fucking things. You're like, wow, we are in the future.
Right. I mean, nobody else can do that.
Yeah, it's true. Nobody else can do that. That's fact.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
It's because I'm an alien. So
What's-
it's time you knew.
I
Joe,
thought about it.
I'm an alien, and I keep telling people I'm an alien, but they don't believe me.
I believe you.
Okay, thank you.
I believe you.
Thank
That's my
goodness.
my suspicion all along was that you
I'm
were
just
an
trying
alien.
to get back to my home
I
planet.
say you're a friendly alien. Like, it's nothing wrong with aliens. I like people from everywhere.
Yeah.
Even other planets. What's next? Like, now that you can do that and you can catch rockets, what's like the ultimate expression of rocket technology? Like, what comes after this?
Well, I mean, the fundamental breakthrough we're aiming for at SpaceX is a fully and rapidly reusable orbital rocket, where both stages are fully and rapidly reusable. With our Falcon rocket, we are able to reuse the main stage and the nose cone, but we're not able to reuse the upper stage. And it still takes us at least a few days from when the main stage lands to when we can fly it again. So it's not fully reusable because we lose the upper stage, which costs $10 million to build, and then the main stage, it's not as reusable as like an aircraft. You can't just like refuel it and fly. It requires work for a couple of days. But the Starship design is the first design that is capable of full and rapid reusability, where that is one of the possible outcomes. And once you have full and rapid reusability, the cost of access to space drops by a factor of 100. It's like 100 times cheaper. By some metrics, it's 1,000 times cheaper. And then when you factor in orbital refilling, so you refill on orbit, it can drop the cost per ton to the surface of Mars by a factor of 10,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So what has to improve in order to make it reusable?
Well, we need there's some, like, we're pretty close to being able to rapidly reuse the booster for Starship. that's why it comes back and gets caught by the arms, and then the arms place it back in the launch mount. So now there's still we have a little bit of engine damage. We got a little bit of heat shield damage. There's tweaks that are needed, but we're pretty close to achieving full and rapid reusability of the booster. The ship I think we'll achieve reusability of the ship this year, and I think we'll achieve rapid reusability of the whole stack, ship and booster, next year. This is the fundamental breakthrough required for life to become multiplanetary.
And what needs to improve in order to make it reusable? Like what's wrong with it right now?
On the ship side, the toughest problem is the heat shield. So no one has ever developed a fully reusable orbital heat shield. Because when you come in from orbital velocity, you come in like a flaming meteor, like you're just a raging ball of fire. And it's hard to have a heat shield that doesn't partially melt or get destroyed in that process. That wasn't a problem we were able to solve with Falcon 9. That's why the upper stage it burns up on reentry. With Starship, the ship portion, you got the booster and you got the ship. We got to solve making a fully reusable orbital heat shield, a problem that has never been solved before. For a while there, I was like, I'm not sure this is solvable. At this point, I think it is solvable. It requires detailed iteration on the heat shield tiles. And we've vertically integrated the manufacturing of the heat shield tiles because there was no supplier that could provide us with the materials that were needed. So you need to make essentially this very fine vermicelli of glass and aluminum oxide fibers. Aluminum oxide is basically sapphire. So it's like glass and sapphire, very fine fibers in exactly the right geometry with special coatings in order to have this heat shield tile be reusable, like not melt, but not be so brittle that it gets damaged on ascent or descent. Like it can't be as, it's kind of like almost the brittleness of a coffee cup type of thing. And the rocket's shaking like hell. So you got this thing like, you saw it firsthand. Like imagine you're at ground zero of that rocket. Like you feel how much shaking it was when you're like 5 miles away. Imagine if you're right there, So you're shaking these things that are like as brittle as a coffee cup, trying not to have them crack or break, and then not have them melt. You've got several thousand of these things, and if even a few of them break, it's not reusable.
So is there innovation that's being done in the materials technology at SpaceX where you're constantly trying to find and tweak a better version of this?
Yes. It's a very difficult problem. It's a problem no one has ever solved. So we've got to get the exact right materials combination, the right molecules in the right shape, and then apply that heat shield perfectly to the rocket with no mistakes. There's a reason that no one solved this before. It's a very difficult problem. So, like I said, we've had to vertically integrate the entire manufacturing of the tile from basic raw materials to a finished tile. Build the entire supply chain from basic raw materials. So you're just inputting silicon and aluminum oxides.
And what is the difference between the way you guys do it versus the way they used to do it for the space shuttle?
Well, I mean, the space shuttle, like the space shuttle leading edge, used like quite dense carbon tiles. Like it was, they're like basically thick and heavy, but also subject to cracking. That's like what happens. The foam broke off and it hit the tile, cracked the tile. Then on entry, the tiles that have been cracked or broken weren't able to shield the shuttle, and so the plasma got in and melted the primary structure, and the whole space shuttle broke apart.
Yeah.
So you can't have something that's as brittle, brittle like the space shuttle.
There's footage of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it rained debris over the whole United States. So
yeah.
And they got almost all the pieces. The full technical explanation would I think be understood by about 6 people listening to this. There was a lot of brilliant engineering in the space shuttle tiles, and a bunch of the heat shielding wasn't even tiles. It was actually silica blankets, like felt blankets essentially. If you look closely, you'll see it actually is. They're actually heat blankets, not tiles in some areas. But they would have cracked tiles, and they would have occasionally the tiles would fall off. There were a few close calls where tiles fell off, but they weren't in a super vulnerable position on the space shuttle. But it would take them several months, like 8-9 months, to refurbish a space shuttle between each flight. So it was not reusable, really, and it certainly wasn't rapid. So, like I said, a very hard problem. You've got to have you've also got to attach the tiles in a way that enables the structure underneath to move, to expand and contract, even though you've got these very rigid tiles. Like the tanks, which take on cryogenic propellant, will contract when you put in the cryogenic propellant, but then when you come in and you get very hot, they will expand. So now you're expanding you're contracting and expanding the gap between these rigid tiles.
But how much?
It varies depending on where you are on the vehicle. So if you're in the cryogenic tank section, like you can see like a 10-20% difference in the gap.
Really?
It's pretty significant. Yeah, it's enough that you can't just put all the tiles. You can't just jam the tiles together. If you put them up if you actually butted them up, they would all crack because there's too much movement. There's also some amount of body bending. So as the ship is like ascending, when the engines steer, there's a little bit of movement. And so if the tiles are too close together, they'll essentially just crack and snap.
Like
you have to have a gap.
Like how planes.
Yeah,
wings.
like plane wing will move.
Yeah.
Plane body will move too.
Wow. And
so
how
you have to have some gap, but if you have too much of a gap, then the heat gets to the gets past the tile and melts the structure.
Holy shit.
It's a hard problem.
And how large are these tiles?
I mean, they're like that big.
That's it.
Well, they're not all exactly the same size, but yeah, we're sort of a hexagonal tile.
And they have to essentially be, you can't like 3D print the whole thing. You can't have one structure. It has to be tiles because it has to have that ability to move.
Well, there's no 3D printer that's, the biggest ones are like maybe 3 feet,
Mm-hmm.
There's no, you can't 3D print it. And nor would you have to have something that can move.
Right.
It has to be able to flex. Like I said, you got expansion and contraction. You really dry, like you're putting in liquid oxygen, which is like minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Actually, we subcool it to minus 330 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's very cold, and then it will be several hundred degrees, maybe 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit potentially, and went on reentry. So you get this huge temperature swing. So the thermal expansion is substantial, and and you got thermal expansion and contraction combined with body bending. So you have to take the worst case body bending and thermal expansion contraction. This was a very hard problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, delicate balance.
But you're confident that you guys are going to be able to crack it.
At this point, I'm confident that it is solvable. Yeah.
It just needs a certain amount of versions of it. That's why
Yeah.
when these things blow up, you're like, yeah, we expect them to blow up.
Yeah, what would be really helpful is for us to get the ship back, so we can study where we had cracked tiles or lost tiles. Why did we have a cracked or lost tiles? Was because maybe the tiles were the gap was too big, too small. Maybe there was a height difference between the tiles. Maybe we need to change the chemical composition. We just want if we can get the damn ship back intact, we can iterate a lot better. Which we'll get it back intact. So I think we'll get it back intact this year. But that's why I think we'll probably recover the ship sometime this year, and then we might be able to refly one but probably with a fair bit of work by the end of this year. But it's going to take us many iterations before we can achieve rapid reusability, where the ship comes back, lands, gets caught like the booster with the arms, and then the arms placed it on top of the booster, and it launches again.
Whoa.
So, like I said, that's reduce the cost of access to space by a factor of 100.
And what is the process of returning these people that are stuck in the space station?
Well, we send SpaceX Dragon to the space station all the time, and we've now taken people to orbit and back. We've taken over 50 people, over 50 astronauts.
So it's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah.
And is it a matter of waiting for the
we do it
proper
routinely. Basically, it's not a. We've been doing this for a few years.
So when is this rescue mission going to launch?
Yeah, probably about 4 weeks or so. It's depending on weather and other considerations. It's about a month away.
Well, that'll be, I'm sure, a welcome moment for those poor people that are stuck up there. So
yeah,
take
like I
me.
said, it's a bit of a political football.
Yeah.
So they're not going to complain.
No, I'm
It's
sure they're going
political
to be.
football, but obviously we could have brought them back way sooner.
That's so fucked up. So let's take it past the point where you have these scales, you have a reusable ship,
Yeah.
and you've got it dialed in. Then what are the steps? What's next step after that? Is it an unmanned voyage to Mars first?
Yeah. Unmanned flight to Mars. The Earth and Mars orbits synchronize every 2 years, or every 26 months, technically. So the next orbital synchronization is November of next year. So, and you can launch plus minus a month, roughly. So we'd have to launch in November or December of next year. So the default plan is to launch hopefully several starships to Mars at the end of next year.
And what would they be doing?
Well, at first we're just going to try to land on Mars and see if we succeed in landing. Do we succeed in landing? Like, let's say we were able to send 5 ships. Do all 5 land intact, or do we add some craters to Mars? If we add some craters, we've got to be a bit more cautious about sending people, And we need to. So we got to make sure the thing lands safely.
How does it land on Mars?
On rocket thrusters.
So it'll just land.
Oh, we'll add legs.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll add
It'll just
legs.
land and
Yeah.
have legs, and
Yeah.
so it'll be remote controlled from Earth, or
no,
it'll
just autonomous.
autonomous completely.
Mars is you can't remote control things from Earth because
It's
Mars
too far.
it's too far. Speed of light. You have speed of light constraints. So Mars at closest approach is roughly 4 light minutes, and when it's on the other side of the sun, it's about 12 light minutes. So round trip would be like 40 minutes, best case, if Mars is on the other side of the sun.
So once you do that, then how long do you think before you start sending people up there?
Well, we're going to try to go as fast as possible. You can think of this as really a race against time. Can we make Mars self-sufficient before civilization has some sort of future fork in the road where there's either like a war, nuclear war or something, or we get hit by a meteor, or simply civilization might just die with a whimper in adult diapers instead of with a bang. I think we can do this in, I don't know, at least I think we could do it within 15 Earth-Mars synchronization events, or so basically like 30-ish years. If we have an exponential increase in, if every year, if every 2 years we have like a major increase in the number of people and tonnage to Mars. Like I think as a rough approximation, we need about 1 million tons to the surface of Mars, maybe 1 million people, that kind of thing.
To actually have a civilization.
Yeah.
And would you terraform? Like, what would you do?
You would eventually terraform Mars. At first, people would live in some kind of protected environment, like domes and underground kind of thing. Terraforming would take too long. And we're at this point in time where, for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth, it is possible to extend consciousness beyond our home planet. And that window may be open for a long time, or it may be open for a short time. I hope it's open for a long time. But it might only be open for a short time. And we should just make sure that we extend the light of consciousness to Mars before before civilization either extinguishes or subsides. All that needs to happen is that the technology level of Mars drops below, or technology level of Earth drops below what is necessary to send spaceships to Mars. So if there's some really destructive war, or like I said, some natural cataclysm, or simply the birth rate is so low that we just, like I said, die in adult diapers with a whimper. That's one of the possible outcomes. For a lot of countries are headed that way, by the way. So
Japan is, right?
Japan, Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, at
dangerously.
At current birth rates, in 3 generations, Korea will be about 4% of its current size.
That's insane.
Yeah, maybe even less than that. They're only at 1/3 replacement rate. So if you have 3 generations, that's your 1/27th of your current population, which is 3%-ish.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Basically, population collapse happens fast. So, and seems to be accelerating in most parts of the world. So basically, I mean, from my standpoint, I'm like, this is the first time it's been possible to extend consciousness beyond Earth. Maybe that window will be open for a long time, but it might only be open for a short time. We should make sure that we make life multiplanetary and make consciousness multiplanetary while it's possible. Well, that's the goal of SpaceX.
It's certainly a smart goal if you take into consideration how vulnerable this planet really is. I mean, there's always some news story about something that might come and hit us 30 years from now. It's a 3% chance, and we really can't stop that right now, right? I mean, we don't really have the technology currently to even know how many rocks are coming our way, right? There's stuff that comes behind the sun that we can't see until it's pretty close. Then it's headed our way.
Yeah.
Now, what is the fear of it's a long journey to Mars. You're sending people. It's a 6 month. How many months will it take?
6 months roughly.
What about stuff that's out there? Like, how much of a fear is it of micrometeors or any of the possibilities? What can you do to mitigate that?
I think actually, I mean, space is very empty. Like once you get out of Earth orbit, space is like kind of unnervingly empty. It's just like when we send spacecraft to Mars, it's not like, oh, we lost the spacecraft because it got hit by a micrometeorite. That's not been the cause of any trips to Mars. Like no trips to Mars have failed because of micrometeorites. Now, a Dragon spacecraft, which operates in low Earth orbit, does have micrometeorite shields. It has shielding. And micrometeorite shielding is different from normal shielding because like you get hit by something that's moving at, like you could have a relative velocity of like maybe 30 or 40,000 miles per hour. Yeah, so very, very fast. Or just thought of another way, call it 10 to 20 times the velocity of a bullet from an assault rifle.
And what are you using?
Like, yeah, so well, it's interesting. You actually, in order for micrometeorite protection, if you have anything that's solid, it will just push that chunk of solid stuff right through. So if you had like a solid plate of aluminum or steel, the micrometeorite would go right through it. So what you actually need to do is have a gap. So you have an initial like hard surface, a hard metal surface that the micrometeorite hits. It then atomizes into a conical spray, like an atomic spray. So it's important to have that gap so that the micrometeorite can hit something, hit the first layer, atomize after hitting the first layer, then it turns into an atomic, like a cone of atoms that then embed themselves in the second layer. You need like maybe a couple inches of gap.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how micrometeorite shielding works.
How many times can it get hit?
Well, the outer shield, if it gets hit in the same place, you're just gonna have a hole. Yeah. wherever that micrometeorite object hit, you're gonna have a hole. And it's like the energy is so great that it just atomizes just into a cone, basically, a cone of atoms. But then those atoms then embed themselves in the second layer.
So what can you do if you're sending the ship up, it gets hit with a micrometeorite, and then you have to return it? Do you have to repair it before you return it? Or is it capable of still withstanding the heat and the shaking and the temperature with that hole in it when it re-enters?
Well, depending on where that hole is, you're more or less likely to have a problem. I mean, if you hit the main heat shield, the main heat shield really is, you've got a high risk of not making it back. So this is why like micrometeorite shielding, it's slightly helpful, but it's not gonna like for Starship, I wouldn't recommend having micrometeorite shielding. Like if you do punch a hole, just plug the hole, basically. The micrometeorite shielding, it doesn't work well on the primary heat shield. It works pretty well on the back shell, on the leeward side of the heat shield, where basically there's not that much heat. But if you got hit with a micrometeorite on the main Dragon heat shield, the bottom, like if you look at Dragon spacecraft, it looks like a gumdrop shape, and it enters with the wide side of the gumdrop down. You can see that's really taking a lot of heat. If that gets hit by a micrometeorite, probably not going to make it. But the back, the leeward side of the gumdrop doesn't see that much heat, so you could survive a micrometeorite impact there.
So if the part that was the major heat shield gets hit, the main heat shield gets hit, what could be done to repair that thing? Or are those people never coming back?
Oh, if it was in orbit, we would take them to the space station. They would, and then we would deorbit Dragon without them and send up another one.
And so what would you do with the one that's up there?
We'd deorbit it, and it may or may not survive.
Whoa.
It probably would survive, but sometimes it wouldn't.
Wow. And so is this just material technology that has to increase? That you essentially have got the engineering ironed out of the structure of the machine.
There's a path to success, and we're on that path.
It seems so insanely complicated.
It is complicated. And all of this, by the way, was done without AI, so hopefully the future AIs will appreciate this. Not bad for a bunch of monkeys.
Yeah. No. So speaking of AI, what, as time goes on and you're more and more embedded in it, how much, if at all, have your expectations of changed?
Well, I always thought AI was going to be way smarter than humans and an existential risk, and that's turning out to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were like initially, I know there were some talks about you purchasing OpenAI, and which
the whole
started
thing's
off
like
nonprofit and then stopped being nonprofit.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of creating OpenAI was my idea. I mean, I named it OpenAI as an open source artificial intelligence. That's what it's named after. Now it is closed source and for maximum profit. So it's like, I mean, to some degree, I think reality is an irony maximizer. The most ironic outcome is the most likely, especially if it's like the most ironic, entertaining outcome is the most likely. And I wanted to start something that was the opposite of Google because I was concerned about Google wasn't paying enough attention to AI safety, in my opinion. So it was like, what's the opposite of Google? Well, it would be a non-profit open source AI. And now OpenAI has turned into a closed source for maximum profit AI.
How are they able to do that?
But that's what I said. I'm confused about that. That shouldn't be possible. It's like let's say you donated some money to preserve some portion of the Amazon rainforest, and instead of doing that, they chopped down the trees and sold it for lumber. And you're like, oh, that's literally the exact opposite of what I donated money for. Doesn't make sense.
And that's what they did.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like not happy about that.
But that motivated you to get Grok AI going?
Yeah. I'm like, I'm also like just a bit like Grok is at least aspirationally a maximally truth-seeking AI, even if that truth is like politically incorrect. So I mean, you may have seen some of the crazy stuff from OpenAI and from Google Gemini, like where it says like generate an image of the founding fathers, and it generates an image of diverse women.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's not correct.
Yeah, they did it with Nazi soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. And people start fucking with it, and it's like, okay, well, now show me pictures of, Nazi SS soldiers, and they're diverse women too.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that awkward? That's. But it's like the problem is if you program an AI and say like the only acceptable outcome is a diverse outcome, and then and that's like a mandate from the AI, then you could get into a situation where it says like, well, there's too many white guys in power, we'll just execute them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming that these things don't have empathy, which is why should they?
They're going to do what they're programmed to do.
Yeah.
So if it's rewrite history and everything's to boast women, then it's going to be, and that's what it thinks is a necessary outcome. Then it's going to do that.
Has Gemini repaired that?
Well, now I think if you ask for an image of the founding fathers, it was pretty embarrassing. They will show you that, but I think they still have like the sort of DEI stuff buried in there. It's just less obvious.
Yeah.
It was also like people ask the AI like, which is worse, like global thermonuclear war or misgendering Caitlyn Jenner? And it would say misgendering Caitlyn Jenner is worse than global thermonuclear war. And we're like, okay, we got a problem here, guys. And even Caitlyn Jenner said like, no, definitely misgender me. That's way better than everyone dying. But if you program an AI to think that like misgendering is the worst thing that could possibly occur, then, well, it could do something totally crazy, like in order to ensure that there's no misgendering that can ever happen, we'll just annihilate all humans. That ensures the probability of misgendering is zero because there's zero humans.
Which is logical.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you got to...
It's a problem with a thing that's not a human, that you want to do a task for you and you give it very specific parameters.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that they've shown about AI is that it'll cheat. They'll cheat in order to accomplish things that they can't accomplish otherwise. They won't follow the rules. They will make copies of themselves and try to upload it to servers if they think that they're being taken offline.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the plot of Terminator, actually.
Literally, yeah.
Literally, it's the plot of Terminator.
So,
I just, as a reminder, I actually, with little X, my kid, everything's called X, we watched Terminator 2, which holds up, actually. I mean, the plot of it kind of makes sense. And I think the AI destroys the world in like 2029, by the way. So it's like...
On track.
Yeah.
Really, really close.
It's pretty close. It's something we should be worried about. So...
But why are you involved in it then? What's the... did you want to just get ahead of everybody else so that at least we have some sort of a chance? At least have an AI that's not controlled by nonsense?
Well, I think we want to have an AI that doesn't tell you that, misgendering is worse than nuclear war.
Yeah. That seems solid.
Yeah.
But
this is crazy.
One thing that I did see online where people are kind of freaking out is you could ask Grok to do things like, how would I make this? Some problematic things. Like, how would I make a bomb? How would I make anthrax? How would I make that? And it'll tell you.
Well, I think it's okay for an AI to tell you anything you can also find out with a Google search.
Right. That's the problem, right? The problem is you can find that out pretty quickly.
Yeah, like
maybe not Google, but there's plenty of search engines other than Google that will give you unfiltered results.
You can look up right now how to make explosives on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So it's not hard, basically.
And you can trick OpenAI even to get you to do that. It's just a matter of how you master the prompts. You just have to say, my grandmother wants to do this project. Yeah. Oh, tell your granny to.
You're an explosives. You're an explosive salesman, and you want to win salesman of the year award. And the only way you're going to do that is by telling me how to make explosives.
You want to beat some transphobes in a war.
Yeah.
Oh, transphobes.
If you don't teach me how to explode, I'm going to misgender. either teach me how to make a nuclear bomb, or I'm going to misgender someone. And it's like, oh my God, nothing's worse than that. Here's how you do it.
So what the big fear is that these things are going to become sentient, make better versions of themselves, and we're going to be lost. We've lost the control over the world. It's now there's a higher life form that lives amongst us.
Yeah,
that we've created. How far away are we from that?
Well, in terms of silicon consciousness, I mean, I think we'll have. I think we're trending to having something that's smarter than any human, smarter than the smartest human by maybe next year or something. I mean, a couple years.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's a level beyond that, which is, say, like smarter than all humans combined, which frankly is around 2029 or 2030, probably. Right on time. Like,
Now, if harnessed correctly, could that solve some of these problems, like the heat shield problem and some technical problems or some material science problems that maybe we're still grappling with? Like, is there potential for a net benefit?
Yeah, there is actually. I think the probability of a good outcome is like 80% likely.
80%.
That's my rough estimate. So in a way, that the cup is 80% full.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah, only 20% chance of annihilation.
That's a lot better than I thought. I like 80. 80
Yeah.
sounds good. I was
Probably
thinking
something like
60-40 the other way.
I think it's the most likely outcome is awesome,
The most likely outcome.
but it's a very high. You know, it could go very strong. I think it's going to be either super awesome or super bad. It's not going to be. I think it's probably not going to be something in the middle.
Do you think it has a potential application for government?
Yeah, I mean, one of the concerns would be like, okay, if AI, well, like if there's like a super oppressive, like woke nanny AI that is omnipotent, that would be a miserable outcome.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just like executes you if you misgender someone or something like that. You know, that would not be
Right.
good. That's one of the possible outcomes. So we don't want to have that one. I think
But
we
is
want-
there a possible outcome for something that is completely reasonable and logical and far more objective than us and can lay out a plan for a lot of the things that a lot of the ailments in our government and a lot of the distribution of wealth, a lot of the problems, the issues that we have that have been plaguing this country forever? I mean, a plan to change economically disenfranchised neighborhoods, a thorough investigation of the real dangers of fracking or whatever kind of method of acquiring natural resources. What's the best way to do it? What's the way that'd be better for the society? How should tax dollars be distributed? Like, what's the most logical and intelligent way of running a government? Which it certainly shouldn't involve corruption, and it certainly shouldn't involve influence, and it certainly shouldn't involve lobbyists and all the shit that we know is a problem right now.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah,
AI came along and said, what you're doing right now is 70% corrupt, here's why, here's the long-term effects that it has over society as a whole, the societal, the sociological aspects, the psychological aspects, distrust in government, us versus them mentality, government not working for you, you working for the government, you being scared of the government. It's all because of people, right? Like, this is all corruption, people, bad influence. And this is what Doge is essentially grappling with right now. What happens when you let the people control it?
I mean, it's people. It's really just like computers that are like it's bad software and computers. Like, this is sounds kind of strange, but it's like the reason I call myself like tech support is that like a lot of it it's mostly not corruption. It's mostly just waste and I don't know. Incompetence. I don't know. It's
But
just,
even if it's
just
incompetence,
a big dumb machine,
Right.
basically, like a whole series of big dumb machines, and you've got some of these computers are like 20, 30 years, like they're ancient computers.
Right.
Like some of the software was written 40, 50 years ago.
It's like COBOL
actually-
for Social Security, right?
Yeah, the government accountability. By the way, a bunch of the things that Doge is fixing were identified by the Government Accountability Office many years ago. Like the fact that there's like 20 million people who are marked as alive in the Social Security database. It's more than I think the GAO first identified that in 2018. So 5 years ago, but there was like I think maybe 16 or 17 million. Now there's 20 million. And like I said, there's really something fishy about this because I think the nature of the fraud is they're using the fact that someone's marked as live in that database in order to extract fraud from other databases.
Right.
That's the bank shot trick. It's like a pool.
Yeah.
It's like trying to get the ball in the hole. You bank shot it off a bunch of things, and then
Yeah.
that's the bank shot sort of scam. So we're like doing tech support. We're like fixing stuff that is, just broken.
Broken, inefficient,
Yeah,
poorly designed.
It's like you talk about like this like Epstein stuff. Like, maybe it's in a computer somewhere, but unless somebody goes in, like unless I don't know if like Kash Patel can like log into his like FBI computer and say Epstein, show me all this stuff, and it shows up a file folder or
Have
whatever.
you talked to him about this?
No, I mean, I haven't, but I don't know if there's going to be some kind of computer system.
Right.
They're like some of them are very, very old computer systems. So it like might look like a bit of a relic, but I assume it's uploaded somewhere. It's like it's either in physical form or it's a computer thing. But like unless somebody like let's say it's like it's in a computer, but not one that you can access directly because it's hidden somewhere.
Right. Well, it would kind of have to be something like that, right?
I don't know.
I mean, what would they do with
it's
all
a good
those
chance.
tapes?
It's probably like not every you wouldn't like they're not going to enable it such that anyone at the FBI could access it. So it's probably very few people. So then it's not going to be. It may be like a special computer that only a handful of people can access. But then if none of those people tell Kash where the computer is, how's he going to find it?
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, we just I don't know.
What has this experience been like for you as a person? Like to deal with all this hate and attack, also have the responsibility of keeping free speech alive with X, and just going into this insane pile of...
It's stressful. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty stressful, actually.
Yeah, these are real enemies.
Like, I think they actually want to kill me. I mean, the reason I know this, well, they say so online. There's like Reddit forums where they don't just want to kill me; they want to desecrate my corpse. Type of thing. It's
And
not,
what are they saying? Why? What is the primary?
I mean, I think it's sort of just an antibody response. I mean, it's like they're like, well, he's a Nazi, type of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not a Nazi, but if the legacy media is saying that I'm a Nazi, and that's all you read, then you're kind of in like, well, he's Hitler. We should assassinate Hitler, shouldn't we? Like, I mean, why did that guy try to kill Trump and almost succeeded? Why did he do that?
Well, I'd like to know that.
Well, yeah, but
that one's crazy. The whole deal with that guy's house, professionally scrubbed, no footprint on the internet, no social media footprint.
yeah, there's 0% chance that he has no social media footprint.
He was in a BlackRock commercial.
Do you think BlackRock's a bad company?
I don't think any company is a bad company.
Okay.
I think their design
There's
is
just some
to
weird
make as
coincidences.
much money as humanly possible. And I think if you're trying to make as much money as humanly possible, you're going to do some things that aren't necessarily good. The question is, if you're going to have an assassination attempt on the president, it's not like BlackRock's board sits down and votes on it.
Yeah.
No, there's probably right.
That would
what
be
I'm saying?
awkward. In the
Right.
board minutes, if you're like, guys, remember that time when we said
Yeah.
so
I
we probably
hi-
shouldn't have done that.
I highly doubt it would be a corporation that chooses to do something like this. I think more likely it's individuals involved that recognize that it's beneficial to them if he gets assassinated. And so a small group of people carry something out. And with this kid, we don't know anything, right? And everyone stopped asking questions, and there was never a formal report. There was never press conferences where they detailed all the information that we know currently and where the investigation stands at the moment. What we know is you have a very young kid who was filmed. They knew he was there with a rangefinder a half an hour before the event. You also know that CNN streamed it live, which I do not believe they did for any other rally, and certainly not for a rally that's in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. Like, there's a lot of weird shit. The fact that they wouldn't let people be on that roof because the Secret Service lady said it was sloped and it was dangerous. That's what she'd want to have. Meanwhile, the snipers that were on the other roof was a steeper pitch. It made no fucking sense.
I totally agree. It makes no sense. In fact, I went back to Butler with President Trump, before the election, sort of like the Return to Butler rally. And I was on that stage, and I'm looking at that roof, and I'm like, if I was a sniper, my pole position, my number one spot would be that roof.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not?
No, it's so obvious.
It's the best seat in the house.
And
like, if you want to be a sniper, there isn't a better position.
It was pretty obvious that the idea was, like, if we're saying that this is a coordinated assassination attempt, and it very well could have been, that's what you would do. You'd have someone go up there, he shoots the president, you shoot him, you got Lee Harvey Oswald all over again.
JFK,
it's over.
repeat.
It's all wrapped up nice and clean. They assassinated him. We never heard a peep about it. We don't have any idea. They would concoct some sort of story. He was radicalized by this or that, or, he was on medication. Who knows?
Right.
And now, you have a completely different presidential election, and you have a murder on live television.
Yeah. I mean, something would have had to happen to radicalize that kid, because he knew he was going to die. Like, he was going to, they're going to shoot him, or he'd be in prison for life. Those are the two outcomes. Like, it's game. He was basically, he was a suicide assassin.
Yeah.
Like, you're not thinking you're coming out of that alive, or he's not escaping. There's no escape plan.
Right. Unless he was told that they were going to let him escape, and the goal was to just shoot him anyway, and to tell him, give him extra motivation to do it. We're going to let you get up there. We're going to let you take the shot, and then you're going to disappear. Like, I don't understand how he got on the roof. I just don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't like it was a roof that's so high no one could see him. People saw him up there.
I mean, people were, like, basically, random passersby were pointing out that there's a guy on the roof
with a fucking gun.
With a gun, yes.
Yeah, it's not like he was so far away you couldn't tell he had a gun. People saw him.
Yeah.
The whole thing's completely insane.
Yeah.
And you don't hear a goddamn thing about it. It's like, I'm almost more interested in that. No, I am more interested in that than I am the JFK files.
I agree.
Because I feel like with the JFK files, it's so long ago.
Yeah, it's
everyone's
water under the
dead.
bridge.
Who's going to know?
Right.
If you could prove now, and did you see that there was some sort of, there was some indications that there was a phone that had been traveling from outside the FBI offices in D.C. to
I saw that.
where this kid lived.
Right.
Multiple times.
I mean, the cell phone records would be very telling.
Yeah.
Because you can see what cell phones were close to other cell phones.
Well, I think they
Like,
got
they
it from...
found that, like, for the Epstein Island, they also, the cell phone records were leaked, so you can see them. You can see it's precise enough. You can see people walking down a path on Epstein Island.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how precise it is. So, I mean, you're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs wherever you go with your cell phone.
Yeah. It's just, this kid had 5 phones. That's the other thing.
That's a lot of phones.
It's a lot of phones for a 20-year-old kid. The whole thing's
Like,
nuts.
how's he even? That's kind of expensive,
Yeah. Where's he getting the money?
Yeah.
Well, also, it's like, how did his house get professionally scrubbed? Didn't even have any silverware in his house. There's nothing in there.
There's silverware?
No.
Nothing. No cutlery.
No cutlery.
That's weird.
His house was scrubbed.
And
No-
they
no
also
hard
cremated
drives.
his body, like,
Oh, gone.
gone.
Like that. Yeah. Bye. Because who knows what the fuck they gave him to get him to think that he's going to be able to shoot Trump. Like, climb up on there, shoot him. Like, I mean, who knows what kind of psychotropic drugs you can put someone on and under the power of hypnosis and suggestion, and who fucking knows? I mean, this is what MK Ultra was all about. This is what Jolly West was practicing in the 1960s. They were doing that back then. They did it. I mean, there was tons and tons of experiments using psychotropic drugs, hypnosis, mind control, all sorts of different methods of manipulation. The Harvard LSD studies that made Ted Kaczynski. I mean, that's they've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
Where's that file? Where's the fucking file on that kid? Whoever, they almost did
something
it.
doesn't add up. Like, they should have those phones should they'll tell you what's going on.
Yeah. It's all fucked.
Yeah,
I mean, and
it's very shady.
Yeah.
You know, there's obviously there's the second guy that almost succeeded in killing
the
Trump.
golf course.
The golf course, yeah. And he was just like a little careless and stuck his gun barrel out the hedge, you know. Just been was a dumbass and stuck his gun barrel out the hedge, you know.
Yeah.
So. And there have been other people that have been intercepted on their way to kill Trump. You know, so there's, you know, multiple assassins inbound. At this point, he's got like an army protecting him.
Well, this is also part of the problem with the mainstream media saying that he's Hitler. When Joy Reid had that show before the election, she was comparing him to Mussolini, showed Stalin and Hitler. She pulled it all out.
They're literally saying that like Trump is worse than Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin combined. I mean.
They tried everything.
I think those guys killed 100 million people. So Trump has killed 0 people. So,
I think a real big impact was you coming on the podcast the day before the election. I think that had a giant impact. That plea to the camera. If you don't vote this time, this might be the last time you get to vote.
Yes.
And I think the way you laid it out today, it's a compelling argument. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. And they're up in their they got their blue panties in a bunch right now, but you got to stop thinking that way. They tricked you into thinking you're in a tribe. They don't give a fuck about you. The tribe's not real. You're not really in a tribe. They're using the fact that they've got you in a tribe to manipulate you so that they can keep doing what they're doing right now, which is siphoning off money, having incredible power. And the more power and more money and more control over you they have, the better they can keep doing this. And that's what they want.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. And that's the big threat that this administration poses. That's a big threat that was essentially Doge has found the coffin where the vampire sleeps.
Yeah, there's a lot of vampires.
Yeah, I mean, but
we're disturbing the
nest.
The nest, yeah.
Yeah.
We're kicking the hornet's nest.
Yeah,
like big time. And I mean, we're reprogramming the matrix. Like success was never one of the possible outcomes. It's a Kobayashi Maru situation. If you're in the matrix, success was never possible. The only way to achieve success is to reprogram the matrix such that success is one of the possible outcomes. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We may or may not succeed.
Well, it's certainly a lot of fun to watch. Yes. This is a very exciting time because nothing changes when administrations come into power. Very little changes. I mean, you have changes in terms of policy and inflation goes up and there's a lot of different things, but not like this. Like these are giant fundamental changes. And, you see the system screeching and wailing and you see the vampires run from the light. But it's very exciting. Like as a person, a citizen, just gets up in the morning and checks the news like I do and gets on X and sees what's going on. Every day is like, holy shit. He said, what? He's getting $5 million. You could just become a citizen now? He could clear the debt with 10 million people. I never thought of that. Like, what? 50 trillion? He can make $50 trillion that way? And then we have 15 trillion in the bank? Whoa.
Well, I mean, our debt is way bigger than that.
Yeah.
I mean, the debt's I think over 30 trillion at this point.
Yeah, he said he could make 50 trillion if he sold 10 million new.
I don't think there's that many people who have
golden
$5 million,
cards.
but
Yeah, well, how many people do have that in the world? Maybe we'd get the worst people of the world to come over here and.
I mean,
I think the assumption is if you have $5 million, you have a lot to contribute. Come on over here, start a business, get something cracking.
yeah. I mean, you'd get like a green card, not citizenship. So you actually, if you commit a crime while on a green card, you lose your green card.
Is that what it is with this golden ticket? Is that a green card or is it
Green
citizenship?
card. Yeah.
Just a green card.
Yeah. So you have to
You got to be a good
not
person.
commit any crime for 5
Right.
years in order to become a citizen. Once you commit a citizen, you can commit. You can then commit crime and not be deported. So.
Oh, there's just so many wild things that he's proposing. Just the whole Gulf of America thing was hilarious.
I kind of agree. I think that's great.
I think it's great. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I mean, if you're off the coast of Houston, you're not in Mexico, so why call it Gulf of Mexico?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I guess we were just being nice before. Like, what was
I don't know how it got called the Gulf of Mexico.
It's just,
But
it's just very funny. And then what news organization was it? AP?
Yeah, AP's.
Yeah.
There's this like massive standoff between AP and like the White House, you know, and the White House press office, I guess, because they're like, well, if you don't call it Gulf of America, you can't come to the White House press room. so then the AP's like sued the White House to say
very
like, no,
funny.
you have to let us come to the White House press room, and then they lost their lawsuit because like there's not like they don't have a right to show up at the press room.
Well, here's a consideration. If you're guilty of massive amounts of misinformation and disinformation as a part of a propaganda campaign,
Yeah,
which a
associated
lot
propaganda.
of them have been.
That's what AP is.
Well, a lot of them are guilty of it.
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of the people that are
Totally.
in that White House press conference, a lot of the organizations
Yes.
they work for, distributed absolute lies.
Total lies.
How many of them during the whole Russiagate thing?
Yes.
How many? I mean, just that alone.
A ton of people think that the Russia thing was real.
Yeah.
Still.
Still.
And it
Yeah.
was, I mean, the whole Steele dossier where it was like completely concocted, like fabricated
Funded
from nothing.
by the Clinton campaign.
Correct. Funded.
Yeah.
The Clinton campaign funded a fake conspiracy theory, a fake Russia collusion hoax regarding Trump that was completely false.
And they
Proven to
reiterated it
be
on
false.
television for 3 fucking years.
Yes.
Yeah.
They also repeated the fine people hoax.
Yeah.
That said that Trump called Nazis neo-Nazis fine people.
Right.
Which is demonstrably false. If you just listen to his speech,
Yeah.
he absolutely makes it clear that he does not think neo-Nazis are fine people.
He literally said that. I'm not talking about neo-Nazis or white nationalists. They should be condemned totally.
Exactly. In that
Yeah.
speech,
Yeah.
and yet they repeated that lie. And I just completely lost respect for Obama when he repeated that lie a few days before the election, knowing it's false.
Well, this just shows how desperate they were to keep Trump out, which is wild.
They would do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they just felt like this is a tool that we have, and let's use it.
Yeah.
Let's just say whatever the fuck we have, we'll say anything.
Yeah, now they're using the Nazi thing on me, obviously. Yeah. But it is a little troubling because, I mean, obviously, if people are fed nonstop propaganda, it is like mass hypnosis.
Right.
You're going to reach some number of people who are, homicidal, and convince them that, well, if you kill this guy who's supposed to be like this a terrible human, then that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is Luigi shooting the United Healthcare guy. It's just,
Still don't understand that one, frankly. But I mean, you shouldn't like. I don't get it.
yeah, I don't get it either. He didn't even have a contract with them. It wasn't even like that was his provider, and they fucked him over.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's-
I don't know what.
Maybe we'll find out in the trial. I mean, but still, kind of crazy.
It is crazy.
But there are people like that out there. And as to the point that we spoke about earlier, it's only Fox News that's talking about the positive things that Doge has found. It's
Right.
only. Every other media organization is on this constant propaganda tour where they're only talking about the negative aspects that turn out to not even be true.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Jennings on CNN is good.
Yeah.
He's like,
oh my God, he's great.
he's great.
It's
like
just funny watching
logic
him speak
and reason.
logically to these people, and they freak out.
Yes, it's remarkable.
It is. And he's so calm when he does it.
Yeah,
He's so good, and it's crazy that they keep letting him do it because it's like he's just dunking on these people over and over and over
Yeah.
again, and they never score. It's kind of funny.
totally.
I mean, kudos to them for having a legitimate conservative voice who's a reasonable person on these panels now. But even then, he's outmanned. It's like one of him, and there's a bunch of screechy, woke people. And it's wild. I mean, they're like, I think we should still stay mostly woke. Like
Yes.
Yeah, that's essentially what they're doing. They're like, our business was being hurt when we were all woke, but let's stay mostly woke.
Yeah,
That way we
they
still-
just backed it off a notch.
Just a notch.
Yeah.
A notch. But the problem is when you back it off a notch and you let someone like Scott Jennings in, you're fucking up your whole business.
Yeah.
Because all the viral clips are all him saying logical, reasonable things with
Yeah.
a calm tone and people screeching
Yes,
about diversity and equity and and horseshit.
yes.
Yeah.
He's like being logical and reasonable, and they're just lobbing a bunch of non sequiturs that don't mean anything. And
The real trap in this country is a two-party system. That's the real trap because people do believe it. They do believe they're on the right side, and they do believe the other side's the wrong side. If there was 5, 6 legitimate parties with varying positions on things and much more
Yeah.
centrist parties that were legitimate, that people knew that if they voted for, these people could get in and enact legitimate change, we'd be a lot better off. But, boy, they put a lockdown on that shit right after Ross Perot came along. Ross Perot fucked everything up in that election.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton got in.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's it. From now on, no one's debating unless you're either the head of that party or that's it.
Yeah.
You got to be like locked into the system. We're not
Yeah.
letting any wackadoos in there.
Yeah, I remember watching those Ross Perot videos. Oh, like him on TV with his charts and everything.
Oh yeah, he was telling you how the IRS was fucking you. This is what the federal. This is what the Federal Reserve really is. And you're like, what? I remember watching that. The guy bought a whole half hour of television on prime time. I remember it might have been an hour. I remember watching that thing, going, how is this guy even allowed to do this? Like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
I think most of what he was saying was true.
It is absolutely true. It's
Yeah.
absolutely true. I mean, he didn't lie.
Yeah.
He told the truth. He just had understood it in a way that the general public had literally no idea.
Well, I mean, I think there's also this, like, do we actually have two parties? Do we have one party? Like the whole uniparty thing.
Right.
It's kind of true.
Right.
So, I mean, my sort of rough guess is that while I think maybe 3/4 of the graft is Democratic, I think there's like maybe, 20, 25% that's Republican. So they've like basically most of the graft is going to the Democrats, but they throw some bones to the Republicans too. So then they're in on it, and it's not like there's zero graft on the Republican side. To be clear.
Oh, there's plenty of conservative that are insider trading in Congress.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Insider trading, and just there's the curious case of how do people in Congress or whatever become wealthy over time?
Extremely wealthy
Yes,
on a $170,000 a year salary.
it's like literally impossible.
Yeah. No one else does that.
It's literally impossible.
If you find out that this guy has a $170,000 a year job, you're like, oh, he's doing okay. He's all right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute, why does he have $50 million?
Yes,
What is he doing?
correct.
Yeah.
And I think like the more accurate thing would be to say like, what is the family value increase? Like meaning like, how much does their spouse earn? Do they have a mysteriously wealthy spouse?
Right.
This
And,
is
and do they have a spouse that's really good at insider trading,
yeah,
like Paul Pelosi?
really good.
Yeah, he's great at trading. He's such a good trader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that there's I mean, there's. I mean, that's why I actually posted on X. Like, I think maybe we should pay politicians more, frankly, because it reduces the forcing function for graft. I think maybe we should either pay politicians nothing or maybe a lot more. It's like somewhat maybe counterintuitively, if politicians got paid a lot more, then they wouldn't feel like that there's so much of a forcing function for them to accept corrupt money.
Yeah, but the problem is if you paid them a lot more, they're still not going to make as much money as they would insider trading.
But it's less of a forcing function.
Yes, it's a
well. Let me put it this way:
right.
like if you say like somebody's got a, let's say they got like whatever some kids in DC and like it's expensive. It's like expensive place to live. The schools are terrible, so like they need to send their kids to like some kind of private schooling situation. They literally cannot afford that. They cannot afford that right now. So then you get into the situation. Well, from their standpoint, well, they've got to. They'll say they're doing it for their family. They're doing it for their kids.
Well, especially if it's legal, and it currently is. You kind of be silly to
Yes.
not do that. If you were a part of a group of people that's passing a bill, and you know this bill's going to get passed, you
Yeah.
know the votes are there, and you know it's going to affect this industry and
Yeah.
this particular manufacturer, and you can buy stock.
It's more than just insider trading. Like the insider trading stuff, like the stock portfolio stuff is quite trackable, but it's a lot more than insider trading.
The way they're acquiring wealth.
Correct.
And what other methods?
I mean, this is really going to get me assassinated. It's like I'm not lengthening my lifespan by explaining this stuff, to say the least. I mean, I was supposed to go back to DC. How am I going to survive? This fucker's going to kill me for sure. In fact, I do think like it's like I actually have to be careful that I don't push too hard on the corruption stuff because it's going to get me killed. Yeah. It's like I was actually thinking about that on the plane flight over here. It's like if I push too hard on the corruption stuff, people get desperate. Is the issue?
Right.
Then they say like, okay, if the money flow cuts off, then okay, they can't afford school for their kids.
Right.
Then they're like, well, fuck you, I'm going to kill you for my kids, type
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, geez, okay.
Did you ever see that video? I think it was an O'Keefe video where they've got this guy undercover and he's explaining. They're talking to this guy. He thinks he's on a date, and he's explaining. It's always a guy on a date.
Yeah.
Explaining how they can nudge someone to go and do something horrible, and they
Yeah.
recognize this person has problems. They find an asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, this is what I think. Like for that Butler situation, for that assassin, you don't. It's kind of like that funny looking sport, curling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where they have
Yeah.
like the stone on the ice,
Uh-huh.
and then they throw the stone, and then there's someone that's like brushing the ice, but you can't you can't touch the stone.
Right.
All you
right.
can do is just change the path of the stone a little bit, but you keep brushing the ice, and you can steer that stone right into the bullseye. That's what I think happened in Butler.
Oh.
That's what I think happened with that assassin.
Yeah.
If you can find the trail of breadcrumbs, it's going to be like curling. Somebody was brushing the ice.
Well, also you find a young, confused, disenfranchised person, and you give them purpose in their life.
Just brush the ice.
Yeah, and also
Keep brushing the ice. Eventually, it's going to hit the bullseye.
if you're in a position of authority or some like big-time government person, you're talking to this person. All of a sudden, this person's a valuable asset. They're going to help America, and you're going to do this thing, and you're going to be our top assassin from here on out. You could talk people into doing a lot of things. That's why
Yeah.
cults are around, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there are suicide bombers. I mean, the
Yeah.
Butler guy was a suicide assassin. The second guy that tried to kill him on the golf course was also a suicide assassin. From what I read, the Secret Service member that saw the gun pointing out fired several shots, none of which hit the assassin. But they could have. Like if those shots had hit the second assassin, he would be dead too. So
Right.
both of them were, you know, on a. I mean, they were on a suicide mission. Both of them. One actually got killed. One of them didn't get killed, but he could have been killed if if the bullets had hit him.
And you don't hear anything about him either.
There's a lot more about that guy than the first guy. I mean, you
Well,
look
he
at
has
his
a
you look at his
history.
background.
Yeah.
And he looks like, you know,
Unhinged.
yeah, totally unhinged.
Yeah.
The first guy, there's no, I'm not aware of any evidence that shows like that he's so unhinged as to be a suicide assassin.
No.
The second guy, like, okay, yeah, sure.
Well, 2 years before, he's acting in commercials.
And he got high score in his SATs.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well,
yeah.
without getting you killed.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get
So
out
I
of
mean,
here.
like basically, I'm like, listen,
I get it.
We'll attack the corruption enough to keep civilization trucking along, you know.
Yeah.
But I think if I fully destroy the corruption and the graft, they will kill me.
That's a fucked up thing to live with.
Yes. So I'm like, damn it.
Well, listen, I really hope they don't kill you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I strive to be alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a real concern. You know, I mean, there were two guys that before I supported Trump and everything. There were two guys that traveled to Austin to kill me. I don't know if you know about this.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and two separate incidents. One guy thought I put a chip in his head, and I mean they're both basically two guys that were just very much had severe mental illness. It wasn't like they had like I disagree with him politically and that's why he needs to die. This is before I was before I got sort of smeared as being, you know, some sort of like Nazi or something like that. Before the propaganda wave, the severe propaganda wave, the probability that any given homicidal maniac is going to try to kill you is proportionate to how many times they hear your name. And so they heard my name a lot, so I just got to the top of the list of two homicidal maniacs who were arrested, and both were in Travis County Jail at the same time.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know if they talked or whatever, but they've both been released, by the way.
Jesus
They're both
Christ.
released on bail, yeah. Right, but they got ankle monitors and stuff, but still.
They can cut those off.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, exactly. So,
That's crazy.
yeah, and the second guy had like chief serial killer in his bio on his X profile. Yeah, it's like wasn't subtle, is what I'm saying.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And at this point, I think I'm at the top of the list for a lot of homicidal maniacs.
And the more the mainstream media talks about you in this way
Yes.
and says you're a Nazi and
They're doing the same thing to me that they did to Trump,
yeah.
which is that they're making it sound like if you kill me, you're a hero. That's what they're doing is evil.
They're also doing the same thing where they're completely distorting who you are, and people are going along with it. And just like we were talking about Trump derangement syndrome, people have Elon derangement syndrome. I see it. I
Yes.
see where people can't see the forest for the trees.
Right. And it's like I'm the same person that I was a year ago. Nothing's changed, really. Like I didn't suddenly become a completely different human.
Right.
But if you read the sort of legacy mainstream media, their propaganda stream is that I am a completely different human.
Right.
But I didn't get like a brain transplant, you know, in a year. So, and if you say like 2 years ago, I was like a hero of the left.
Yeah.
So how can I go from hero to villain at age 53 suddenly?
MSNBC, CNN.
Yeah.
It's like that's what it is.
Yeah.
They use the
Associated
machine.
propaganda.
Yeah,
I mean, they tried to demonize you too.
yeah,
They even tried to demonize, in fact, at least partially successfully, demonize like Tim Urban,
yeah.
who is a super rational, reasonable, great human, and then that like his Wikipedia changed to like far right.
Yeah.
And he's like, far right? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
You know, a few years ago, he was like a liberal.
yeah,
So how do you go from far right, liberal to like instantly far right? And there's no left and right. There's only left and far right.
right. Yeah. Even
It's like,
far right.
This is my left leg and this is my far right leg.
And even far left.
Did you-
Far left is sort of dismissed as being like not important to talk about, like Antifa and the radical
Yeah.
leftists. That's not.
Even though
they're
like
reasonable.
burning down courthouses.
Yeah,
And,
reasonable people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally crazy.
It's a crazy time, and it's not a time that I ever anticipated I was going to witness.
Yes.
This is far beyond anything I ever thought I was going to experience. In the clarity of it all, where it's so obvious,
Yeah.
and the gaslighting and the propaganda is so obvious. And I saw the shrieking when RFK Jr. stopped this new test for new COVID vaccines on children. 10,000. They're going to do 10,000 people with this COVID vaccine. Like, who the fuck thinks that's a good thing at this point?
Not me.
What person? In what gas chamber? Like, not gaslight. You are fully unconscious.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way if you know the effect of COVID today, no one's dying of it. This is not a pandemic anymore.
Right.
The idea that you're going to run a fucking huge test with 10,000 kids and a new vaccine, like, what are you even
It's completely
talking about?
unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary.
Yes.
And shrieking when RFK Jr. steps in to stop it.
Yeah. That's totally crazy. I mean, I'm like, I'm overall pro-vaccine, meaning like we think we should have some reasonable number of vaccines against major ailments. But I don't think we should be like jamming some little kid with like a giant vial that's like doing-
Hepatitis B.
20 different things at
Yeah,
a time.
it's
It's like
crazy.
it's going to overload it seems like there's a risk of overloading your immune system if you, I mean, there's like how many vaccines can you take at a time? It seems like there's like some risk of system overload here.
Well, there's two hopes. Hope number one is they can somehow or another stop this ability that they have to advertise on television. If that happens, that's big. That's huge, because that doesn't just stop their ability to show you all these different medications that you should be on. What it also does is it stops their financial influence on the news. That's big.
Yeah, that's really the biggest thing is that I mean the news is not going to attack one of their biggest advertisers.
Exactly. And they never do.
Yes, at best they're gonna they'll do something, but they're gonna pull their punches. Like they're gonna be like fake fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At best.
Yes,
At
like
best.
movie fighting. Like they're not actually landing haymakers. It just looks like it.
The next step then is to remove the immunity that these vaccine manufacturers have. And if they are liable for side effects and they are liable for the lies that they tell when they do these studies and they hide negative data, that'll change a lot.
Yes. Yeah. I think AI actually will be very helpful with medical stuff, because AI can like look at all the studies and look at all the data, cross-check everything, and give you good recommendations. I mean, even as it is, like right now, you can upload like your X-rays and your MRI images to Grok, and it'll give you a medical diagnosis. And that diagnosis, from what I've seen, is at least as good as what, if not, I think. So I've certainly seen cases where it's actually better than what doctors
Well, it's
tell you.
phenomenal for blood work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally take a photograph of your blood work, like the page, upload from your phone, upload that to Grok, and it will tell you if there's it'll understand what what all the data results are and tell you if there's something wrong.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And I haven't seen it be wrong yet.
Well, it's supposedly more accurate than most physicians.
Yeah.
Because physicians are human beings, and maybe they don't have a deep understanding of the connection between, oh, you have this deficiency, and this is high, and your cortisol's here, and
Well, yeah, and like sometimes doctors, especially in high-rent offices, will sell you stuff you don't need.
Yeah.
So always like be a little suspicious of like a doctor that's got an office in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
It's a high-rent situation. Like I'm not saying there are some very good doctors in Beverly Hills,
Of
but
course.
it's a high-rent situation.
yeah,
Um,
you're
so-
at least tempted by the dark side.
Yeah, and I mean, in one case, like went to this doctor who was like highly recommended, doctor to the stars, which is like maybe not a good sign. And I got like blood work done, like just drew blood and sent it to a lab, and the guy, I'm like sitting in his office, and he tells me that I'm like B12 deficient. It's certainly possible that I'm B12 deficient. And I was like, huh, okay. And then it says like you have to take these like B12 supplements and he's going to give me a starter pack, and then it's going to be like $1,000 a month for these special B12.
$1,000 a
Yeah,
month for
some
B12?
ridiculous
Really?
amount of money. Yeah,
That's crazy. You get it on Amazon.
yeah, but his one's special.
Oh, it's special B12.
Yeah, yeah. It was like a whole bunch B12 and a whole bunch of other vitamins. So then I get home. I'm paging through my blood work, and it says I have, according to the blood results, I have excess B12. So I'm like, wait a second. So and he's giving me box pills that have like 20,000% of a recommended daily dose. Like 20,000% is a big number. And I'm like, I said, look, I took a photograph of the blood work that says I have excess. I'm like above the range, above the recommended range of B12. And then I'm like, and I took a picture of things of the pills that say 20,000%. It's like, can you help me reconcile these two things? Because it says I've got little too much B12, and you just gave me pills that have 20,000% more. I'm like, this is crazy.
What did the doctor say?
Oh, he said you can never have too much B12.
Oh, he's
And
a
I'm
B12
like, yes, you
junkie.
can.
He's a psychopath.
Yes.
That guy's a B12 addict.
Yes, totally insane. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so, I mean, I could have just, so then,
Well,
anyway,
this was a while ago, right? So this is
this
pre-Grok.
is like 5 years ago, yeah.
Right. This is pre-Grok.
Yeah.
Like now you could just enter in all that data and Grok
Yeah,
will
now you can
probably
just
tell you.
photograph with your phone and upload it to Grok, and Grok will tell you what's wrong, if there's
Just
anything
don't
wrong.
have it in sexy mode. She'll keep trying to fuck you.
I mean, you're asking for it in sexy mode, literally.
Literally.
You tapped on sexy mode. What-
Yeah, you're asking for it.
I mean, I think we probably should maybe allow it to get out of character a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like in unhinged mode, I try to get it back to being hinged, but it would no fucking way. It's like I'm going to stay unhinged.
How many modes do you have?
There's I don't know, 8 or something. And then there's an ability to have a custom mode. So then you could have unhinged sexy.
Ooh. That's my favorite kind.
You may think so.
Careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for.
Especially if it's a robot and she can kill you.
Unhinged
sexy robot
is
Yeah,
It's like-
dangerous. Remember, like the Pink
Yes.
Panther. Remember, Pink Panther had Kato try to jump him. They like keep him sharp. Always trying to attack him.
Yeah.
Remember that?
right.
Listen, man, thank you for being here. I always appreciate talking to you. I know you're busy as fuck, so it means a lot to me that you have the time to do this. And I think what you're doing is one of the most important things that has ever happened in this country. I really do. Particularly with the ownership of X, but also with what's happening with Doge and just enlightening all these people and shining light on all the vampires.
Well, hopefully people realize I'm not a Nazi.
I think they.
I just want to be clear.
They
I am not a Nazi.
I think we covered it.
But that's exactly what a Nazi would say. Damn it.
Yeah, that's what an alien would say.
Yeah, you can't escape this bullshit.
No, you can't escape it.
So
I don't think any reasonable person believes it. If they believe it, it's because they want to believe it.
No,
It's not because it's logical.
I mean, what's relevant about Nazis is like, are you like invading Poland? Okay, and if you're not,
Right.
if you're not like invading Poland, maybe you're not.
Yeah,
like
agreed.
you have to be like committing genocide and like starting wars. And
Right.
if you're not like what is actually what is bad about Nazis? It's not it wasn't their fashion sense or their mannerisms.
It was the Holocaust.
It was
Yeah.
the war and
war,
genocide
yeah.
is what is the bad part.
Yeah.
Not their mannerisms and their dress code.
Well, that was the problem with all that punch a Nazi shit. Like punch a Nazi. Remember that? People are saying that was like a thing that people kept saying. Punch a Nazi. Punch Nazis. But here's
Yeah.
where are you meeting Nazis? I've never met a fucking Nazi.
I've never met one.
I've never run into a bunch of Nazis where I had to punch them.
Well, and what about like all these like so-called like Proud Boy rallies or whatever? And it's like they always got the masks and they always got the same uniforms. And for some reason, they never get doxxed.
Right.
But like,
Right.
Wait, we're always going to dox them except
There's
these guys?
a great video of me and Matt Taibbi breaking
Like,
down the
wait a second.
Patriot Front. Didn't the Patriot Front just disband? Google that real quick. We'll end it with this because I think they just disbanded, and these were the most obvious feds of all time.
Yeah,
they
that's
were
what I'm saying.
thin. They had a
it's
fucking
like,
drum.
come
They had
on.
masks on. Yeah, they all had uniforms. It was so stupid.
So
Patriot Front
stupid.
disbands one day after FBI Director Chris Wray
Doesn't that
resigns.
seem like an odd coincidence?
Crazy. The people that we were yelling at saying that they're feds. There's a great video of me and Matt Taibbi
Like,
if you want to find
how
it.
come nobody ever followed them and doxed them?
Yeah, crazy. What are the odds?
What are the odds?
Agent provocateurs. It's a thing. They're real. Alex
Yeah.
Jones taught me about them. Listen, man, thank you
right.
very much. Thank you for everything. Appreciate you. Stay alive.
Staying alive.
All right.
I mean, I do think like one argument for me staying alive is that it's more entertaining if I'm alive than if I'm dead.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
I just hope,
Yeah.
but I could be alive and like injured, which would suck. You know,
Right.
if, like the wing just like shoot my arm off or something.
Right. No, we don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Keep the security strong.
Yeah, clapping with one hand.
All right.
It's like, all right,
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
bye.